Chapter 26. New World. In an instant, the light and shadows around them changed, leaving Alex no time to react. Even Pietro, with his super speed, couldn't respond in time. Within a fraction of a second, Alex felt his body tremble before his consciousness and body plummeted rapidly. His survival instinct made him look up, and he was horrified to see himself falling like a camera sinking into the ocean, rapidly descending with the sunlight above growing distant, unable to do anything but watch. Alex wanted to turn and check Pietro's position. If he remembered correctly, Pietro should have fallen into the purple light with him, but to his dismay, his view seemed fixed, unable to move. Soon, all light vanished into the distance. All observable matter and light around him disappeared, leaving Alex's consciousness drifting in boundless darkness. Where is this? Alex wanted to speak but found he couldn't feel his body at all. Even basic senses like touch and taste had vanished, filling him with instinctual fear. Quickly, Alex forced himself not to think irrationally or succumb to fear. The most important thing now was to understand why he was here and in this strange state. Where exactly was this place? He should have been transported by Miss Minutes, so why was he in endless darkness? Most importantly, where was his body? If the portal had separated his soul and consciousness from his body, there was only one other possibility. He was dreaming. That was the only explanation Alex could think of. He wasn't a scholar, nor did he understand physics, so he couldn't scientifically explain his current state, only guess based on the closest experience. This feeling was undoubtedly most similar to dreaming. Suddenly, a faint light appeared from behind him. Alex felt something glowing behind him, the light growing stronger, but he couldn't control his view or turn his head to see it. As Alex grew anxious, he felt his perspective slightly shift. He was puzzled but soon realized he was slowly turning his view. The light emerged from the right, and Alex's vision gradually shifted from the darkness to the source of the light. Initially, it was just a few faint stars, like a ribbon of flowing starlight in the dark. As his view expanded, Alex saw it wasn't one ribbon but countless moving threads, composed of stars, resembling a giant tree formed by mirrors reflecting countless chaotic time-spaces, merging into a colossal tree. World Tree? This was the first word that came to Alex's mind. While metaphorically fitting, it couldn't compare to the grand and magnificent scene before him. It wasn't a world tree made of multiple worlds and planets but rather a terrifying time flow attracted and combined by countless multiverses. Soon, the lights grew larger. Initially, it was just the dazzling starlight before him, but before long, Alex felt similar starlight ribbons appearing around him. Countless stars filled Alex's vision, and the brilliant light made him instinctively close his eyes. The next moment. Ding! Clang! Crash! A cacophony of sounds filled his ears, along with pain and Pietro's screams. Opening his eyes again, light returned to Alex's vision, and he found himself in an empty alley. A few stray cats darted out of a trash can, disappearing around the corner. Ah! My leg! As Alex took in his surroundings, a cry of pain brought him back to reality. Turning around, he saw Pietro on the ground, his wheelchair overturned. Pietro, are you okay? Alex got up, ignoring the pain, and quickly approached Pietro. I'm okay. Pietro clutched his injured leg. You didn't tell me our journey would be this thrilling. My nearly healed leg almost broke again. If you're complaining this much, your injury isn't serious. Alex's words were unkind, but he was relieved. He turned the wheelchair upright and turned to help Pietro. No, it's fine. I can manage. It's a good sign, right? At least it shows my leg is really healing, otherwise, it wouldn't be this sensitive. It should be better in a few hours, definitely by sunrise tomorrow at the latest. Pietro struggled up and sat in the wheelchair. Alex noticed that Pietro had become more talkative since learning about President X's death. It was a good sign. Pietro was no longer as despondent as before. That's not bad. I thought you'd need a few months. Alex examined Pietro's leg, still bandaged tightly, looking no different than before. Super speed, remember? I'm a speedster. Unless it's a fatal injury, I heal within a week. I'm already frustrated it's taking this long. Pietro grinned but then glanced around and asked Alex, so, did we make it? Hearing Pietro's question, Alex slowly picked up the time controller from the ground and nodded slightly. Yeah, we made it. The time controller isn't just any device. It has the power to traverse multiverses, so wherever we are, we're no longer in our previous universe. With Alex's confirmation, Pietro's breathing became rapid, clearly excited. His body trembled slightly. I can't believe it. We actually did it. No one has ever activated this device before. How did you manage it? I don't know. Alex looked deeply at the time controller, its black screen reflecting his face. Recalling the recent events, he rubbed his temples. Alex, are you okay? Seeing Alex's odd state, Pietro poked his arm. I'm fine. The priority now is to check out this world. Don't forget, we're unknowns here. For safety, we need to gather information about this world first. Waving his hand, Alex walked behind Pietro. Though they were dirty, they were not conspicuous enough to attract attention. Listening for a lively direction, Alex pushed the wheelchair, and they slowly made their way through the dark alley toward the bustling, sunlit street. As they approached the sunny street, Pietro grew more excited. He hadn't felt such warm, comforting light in a long time. A slight smile finally appeared on Alex's usually tense face. Hearing the clearer sounds of laughter and chatter, his heavy heart gradually lightened. Finally, they emerged from the gloomy alley into the bustling street. Pedestrians walked along the street, a few teenagers on skateboards weaving through the crowd, and some women in office attire rushed with coffee cups, heading toward their destinations. Everyone had their own goals, everything was so natural. Alex couldn't help but smile at the busy street. Despite it being somewhat similar to streets abroad in his memory, it still felt wonderfully novel. At this moment, he could finally enjoy the beauty of another world without the crushing pressure. Alex was eager to experience the services of a foreign land. Shifting his gaze, Alex looked at a large screen on a high-rise, showing various intriguing brand advertisements. But in the next moment, Alex's smile froze, his face stiffening. On the giant electronic screen in the distance, colorful letters spelled out a city slogan. Welcome to Metropolis. Chapter 27. Another universe. Metropolis. Alex's eyes widened, and soon a pang of pain hit him. Rubbing his eyes, he seemed unable to believe what he saw and continued to gaze at the large screen. The text on the screen remained unchanged, still displaying the same greeting message. But that message containing good wishes made Alex feel like he was plunged into icy waters. He even felt his limbs growing numb. In Alex's memory, there was no city named Metropolis in the whole world because this city was entirely fictional. It was different from New York, where he and Iron Man were located, or Queens where Spider-Man resided, or even Brooklyn where Captain America was born. Metropolis was a completely fabricated city. And the universe that possessed Metropolis, as far as Alex remembered, was only one, and the only one. DC Multiverse. Metropolis, known as the City of Light, where darkness ceased to exist, had only one reason for its existence. The appearance of another character, Superman. Unlike other superheroes, Superman's life on Earth was like a human living on a fragile paper-made planet. His every move could destroy this fragile world, so he had to control his powers to ensure the safety of the planet. Because of this, very few existences could threaten Superman, so much so that when other superheroes saved the world and made headlines, it amounted to Superman's rescuing a cat from a high place, making it to the front page. Overall, the DC universe was not much different from the Marvel universe, both basking in the glory of heroes. But for Alex at this moment, it wasn't so beautiful. Perhaps in movies and comics, Alex could happily watch various events in this universe, but when he personally arrived in this world, what he felt from head to toe was a chill. No one would like the frequent reboots happening here, nor would anyone like the terrifying power collapses in this world. How is this possible? Why did we come to the DC universe? Alex muttered, unable to believe what he was seeing. His calmness from before vanished, replaced by anxiety. He quickly took out the tempad from his pocket. Miss Minutes, take us away from here. His fingers swiftly tapped the screen, his mentality somewhat on the verge of collapsing. But this time, the Miss Minutes from his memory did not appear. Instead, a red battery symbol appeared on the screen, seemingly indicating that the device was out of power. The battery icon blinked twice before disappearing. Out of power? How can that be? No matter how Alex clicked, the screen of the time controller remained pitch black, reflecting his anxious face. Alex, what's wrong? Did something happen? Are we facing a problem? Sensing that something was amiss with Alex, Pietro turned to look at him. At these words, Alex stopped his actions, looking at Pietro's worried face. After a moment of silence, he quickly put the tempad back into his pocket. In the next moment, Alex put on a smile. It's nothing, Pietro. Everything is under control. Metropolis was located in Delaware, on the east coast of US. Its creation was inspired by New York City and Manhattan, situated on a coastal island city not far from another fictional city, Gotham. From the tallest building in Metropolis, one could even see Gotham Harbor across the sea. However, compared to the constantly luminous city of Metropolis, Gotham City was its antithesis. Guiding Pietro to a relatively run-down hotel, Alex quickly took out money from his pocket, paid for 3 days' stay, and, under the guidance of the manager, found their room. The room was small, with only 2 small beds and nothing else. There wasn't even a television. But judging from the style of the hotel's decoration, Alex wasn't surprised by the poor facilities inside. Alex helped Pietro onto the bed, covered him with a blanket, and then stood up without sitting down himself, speaking. You rest here for a while, it'll help accelerate the recovery of your leg. I'll go out and gather some information. I'll bring back some food when I return. Really? Won't you be in danger? Pietro sat up from the bed. Don't worry, it's safe here. Alex smiled and then turned to walk towards the door. Alex. Just as Alex reached the door and opened it, Pietro suddenly called out to him. Hearing the voice, Alex turned back, looking at Pietro with some confusion, while Pietro returned him a smile. Thank you for keeping your promise. Upon hearing this, Alex didn't reply but just nodded calmly. He then walked out and closed the door behind him. Walking out of the hotel, Alex pondered over some things about the DC universe, but the thought of the earth-shattering battles still made him shudder. Who knew how Batman managed to mix in with those monsters? The money in his pocket was running low. Although the 2 universes were from different eras, the value of money remained the same. Plus, Alex's timeline was earlier than this world's age, so the money he brought with him could still be spent. There was also anything Alex was most worried about. Being an illegal immigrant. While he could stay in low-profile hotels without identity checks, if stopped by the police for inspection, his illegal status would be exposed. Apart from this, there was a more important point. Alex urgently wanted to know what universe this world belonged to. If it was just the main universe or a regular universe, it would be fine. But if it was some universe he didn't know at all, then his and Pietro's situation would become extremely dangerous. And to investigate some information about this universe, newspapers and the internet were often the most crucial sources, just like what Alex had done before. Being a scavenger for a while. Thinking this way, Alex walked onto the street, heading towards a newsstand. Suddenly, an electronic fluctuation swept through, and Alex felt a brief ringing in his ears. In the next moment, all the screens around him plunged into darkness. Not only the large screens on the tall buildings but even the phone screens in the hands of passers-by turned into darkness. The television screens in storefronts did the same, and quickly, without anyone knowing what had happened, they lit up and turned into static. Seeing this sudden change, almost everyone stopped in their tracks, looking at the static screens in confusion, not knowing what had happened. Alex frowned and stared at the screen on the building a few steps ahead, as if trying to see it more clearly. Soon after, without much delay, the static screens emitted a crackling electromagnetic sound. Then, a man's face slowly appeared on the screen, although the static continued, making the man's face appear intermittently. I come from a distant star. The voice was rough and piercing, but it could still convey the man's message. I traversed the stars to reach this planet. For a long time, your planet sheltered one of my people. Seeing this scene, Alex's pupils suddenly contracted. General Zed. Chapter 28. Twins. In an instant, Alex felt as if he was all alone in the world. The noisy, chaotic sounds around him gradually faded away, leaving only Alex calmly watching General Zed on the screen, still speaking eloquently. So, this is the DC movie universe. Alex frowned deeply, his heart filled with mixed emotions. Generally speaking, movie universes are much safer than comic or animated universes due to the constraints of live action and high special effects costs, leading to the weakening of most characters, making them far less terrifying than in the comics. However, the DC movie universe is clearly an exception. Judging by the movies, facing the monsters in this world, Alex didn't feel he had any chance of resistance. In the comics, Captain Boomerang, an ordinary person, could still hold his own against the Flash. Even in the Arrowverse, Captain Boomerang could pose a slight threat to Green Arrow and the Flash. But in the movie universe, Captain Boomerang, a moderately famous villain, was instantly defeated by the Flash in one encounter. So, by comparison, since even the Flash couldn't stand toe-to-toe with Superman, and ordinary people are basically cannon fodder against the Flash, it shows just how terrifying the villains who can match Superman are. It's not just Alex himself. Even with Pietro's help, Alex doubted they could guarantee their safety. The battle between General Zod and Superman almost destroyed half of Metropolis. In such a level of conflict, the shockwaves alone could kill a lot of people. Even Batman had to stay put and watch from below. How could ordinary people get involved? Moreover, this universe is far from as wonderful as imagined. Like other DC universes, this place can't escape the fate of reboots. If Alex remembered correctly, the scene unfolding now should be from the movie Man of Steel. General Zod had spent 50 years traveling to Earth to find the genetic engineering project containing all Kryptonian gene samples, which had been injected into Superman at his birth by his father. In this storyline, Superman's father had injected all the genetic samples and reserves of Krypton into Superman and sent him to Earth. This was the fundamental reason that attracted General Zod and led to the ensuing conflict on Earth. It looks like I need to find a way to leave Metropolis as soon as possible. Alex quickly came up with a strategy. Ignoring the surrounding people's astonishment and fear due to General Zod's appearance, he turned and walked back toward the hotel. Now that he knew the universe he was currently in, there was no rush to gather more information. Overall, as the first movie of the DC movie universe, this timeline was still relatively safe. Anyway, Superman would deal with General Zod. All Alex had to do was leave Metropolis quickly. As long as he stayed out of their conflict, he should be fine. Though Darkseid would appear in the future, and the planet would likely be destroyed by him before the Flash would travel back in time to reboot the universe, that was years away. There was still plenty of time left for Alex. For now, he needed to figure out why the Tempad had transported him to this universe. The DC universe and the Marvel universe are two completely different worlds. Although both universes have superheroes and concepts of multiverses and parallel universes, ultimately, they are entirely different. Their universal laws, energy conservation, and creation concepts have significant differences. Taking out the Tempad from his pocket and looking at the unresponsive screen, Alex let out a slight sigh of relief. Actually, there had been some exchanges between the two universes in the comics. Alex had read several collaborative comic issues between the two companies. The most famous of these was probably JLA/Avengers, but that was more for fun. But now, having personally experienced crossing from Marvel to DC, Alex had to take it seriously. If Marvel time and DC time truly existed and could interact, it wouldn't be simple. Both worlds have vast multiverses that wouldn't intersect easily. This means that only a few universes can genuinely interact. Thinking of this, Alex recalled the giant multiverse world tree composed of starlight he saw during his crossing. If that tree represented the Marvel universe, there should be a similar tree for the DC universe. These two world trees are composed of different timelines of the multiverse, constantly developing and expanding, influencing, and colliding with each other. Ultimately, some multiverse timelines will entangle. And this is the initial area where the two independent timeline multiverse world trees form a connection. These few entangled multiverse timelines become anchors, deepening the connection between the two different universes. So, if that's the case, it's not that the two universes formed a passage, but one of the countless infinite multiverses in Marvel happened to connect with one of the timelines in the DC universe, resulting in this accidental crossing. Alex rubbed his chin. He wasn't a top student, so he didn't fully understand advanced physics. He could only speculate in a way that fit his observations. After all, this was his first encounter with such a thing. Before crossing, he had even thought those comics were fictional and could never actually appear. As Alex thought this far, he suddenly realized something even more terrifying. If he remembered correctly, DC Comics had linked up with the Monsterverse, where the Justice League and Godzilla, and King Kong had interacted. Additionally, Marvel had Predator vs. Wolverine. Could it be? Alex dared not think further. At this moment, he felt incredibly vulnerable and confused. Having experienced so much in a short time, he felt the pressure mounting. It's better to go back and sleep first. Thinking too much is useless. Shaking his head, Alex dismissed those chaotic thoughts and turned into an alleyway. This alley was a shortcut back to the hotel, usually not used by many people. Only scavengers or nearby residents would take this route. At this time, there were very few pedestrians on the street, only Alex and a pair of twins walking towards him. Alex rubbed his temples, trying not to think about those unnecessary things. For now, the most important thing was to get some good rest. Alex had been driving non-stop, even through war zones, and hadn't dared to rest until now. His eyes were already bloodshot. The two men walking towards him looked like twins, whispering to each other. Alex instinctively stepped aside to let them pass. But just as their paths crossed, the already exhausted Alex suddenly heard a sentence that made him shiver. He instantly felt wide awake. "I don't know. General Zed. We need to assemble the Justice League." Chapter 29. The sword hanging overhead. Alex's previously relaxed expression instantly tensed as he turned around. Assemble the Justice League? During General Zed's invasion, there wasn't even a hint of a Justice League. Batman was completely unprepared, feeling utterly powerless as he watched the battle from the ground. The Flash, despite his best efforts, managed to save only one child. As for Wonder Woman and Aquaman, one was hiding among the crowd without showing herself, and the other was drinking by the sea, not participating in the battle at all. And that young football player wasn't even cyborg yet. He hadn't been transformed by the mother box. The most crucial point is that, without any external intervention, no one would know the name Justice League, let alone think to assemble its members in advance, since that was something that would happen in the future. So, the fact that person could say such a thing indicated that they, like Alex, weren't natives of this universe. Twins? No. They weren't twins at all. They were counterparts from two different timelines, or rather, an intervener from another timeline, disrupting this original timeline and causing it to evolve into part of the multiverse. And there are very few people in the DC universe capable of doing that, given that interfering with the timeline is an extremely dangerous thing. However, it so happens that there is one such individual who frequently engages in this sort of behavior, especially during major events, often being brought in either as a sacrificial pawn or to tie up loose ends. Even more coincidentally, in Alex's memory, before his crossing, this exact scene appeared in the DC movie universe. Alex stared intently at the two young figures walking away, his body felt numb. This isn't the Man of Steel timeline at all. This timeline is the damned Flashpoint universe from the Flash movie. This Flashpoint universe was created because the Flash, Barry Allen, traveled back in time to save his mother, thus altering the original timeline. And because this timeline was artificially created, it resulted in an extremely unstable world destined for destruction. Just like a towering tree with many branches, countless multiverses are continuously being born and evolving. However, if there are too many, it can easily lead to chaos, causing two or more universes to collide and be destroyed. Hence, in the development phase of the multiverse, many universes are doomed to destruction to ensure the safety of the other multiverses. They are like pruned branches, destined to be discarded. Most of these universes are born and destroyed according to a certain rule, but if someone intervenes in the timeline's development, it can instantly disrupt the linear progression, creating an extremely unstable and uncontrollable parallel world. Those who possess such power are few, but once they act, the consequences are terrifying. Their interference with the timeline creates a time paradox, a pivot, an absolute time node formed by personal actions, which can never be broken, and that universe is destined for destruction. The Flash's seemingly small act of saving his mother formed an independent pivot, directly altering the entire universe, not just the future but also rewriting the past. This led to a universe where Zeus didn't father Wonder Woman, Aquaman's parents never met, and Superman was intercepted before leaving Krypton, never landing on Earth. Instead, his cousin Supergirl arrived. All of this was due to the Flash altering the timeline, and this world would inevitably be destroyed when General Zod arrived on Earth. Because at this moment, no one could stand up to defeat General Zod. There was no one on Earth capable of stopping him. Watching the two Barry Allens gradually disappear around the corner, Alex's heart couldn't calm down. He had thought he had a few years to plan, but reality had caught him off guard. From the time General Zod appeared on Earth to when he killed Supergirl and took the Codex, then activated the World Engine to transform Earth, it would all happen in just a few days. Clearly, there wasn't much time left for Alex. Damn it! Can't I just get some rest for once? Alex punched the wall forcefully. Realizing his current predicament made his head ache even more. He didn't chase after the two Barry Allens because even if he found them, it wouldn't change the fact that these events were destined to happen. The most important thing now was to find a way to leave this universe. I've only been crossing worlds for a short time, and it's been nothing but running and running away. Seriously. Alex returned to the hotel and saw Pietro already asleep. He lay down on the other bed. Not having considered it properly before crossing, Alex hadn't managed to bring anything that could enhance his combat power from the ruined Marvel Universe. The only useful thing, the Iron Man suit, had been crushed by President X. Reflecting on this, Alex decided he wouldn't make another unprepared crossing. Though this world was doomed to be destroyed by General Zod, it still had many valuable items. If he could take some of them, he would have a better chance of protecting himself. But before that, to avoid dying halfway through his plans, Alex decided to get a good night's sleep. Time passed by bit. General Zod's warning to Earth drew attention from countries worldwide. This was the first time people personally experienced an alien invasion, sparking immense discussion across the globe. Many thought they could hand over the alien to the Kryptonians to secure peace. However, more people were curious if there were more aliens living on Earth if such an alien existed among them. No one could answer this question, not even Alex, who couldn't guarantee the presence of Martian Manhunter or Green Lantern on Earth. If this universe were destined for destruction, then potential heroes like Aquaman and Wonder Woman would never appear or be born. Meanwhile, countries worldwide began frantically searching for the Kryptonian generals it mentioned. But after more than 10 hours, there were no leads. The sun gradually rose, its rays spilling over the Earth. But this seemingly beautiful weather brought no comfort, for General Zod's ship had entered Earth's atmosphere. Like a sharp blade, it hung over everyone's head. Chapter 30. Heading towards destruction. Perhaps it was because he was so exhausted that Alex slept for a full 17 hours. Before he slept, the sun was still up, and when he woke up, it was bright outside again. He had initially thought that the turmoil of recent events would make it difficult to sleep soundly, causing him to have various nightmares. However, in reality, he slept incredibly well, without any dreams, until daylight. Aside from feeling a bit uncomfortable from sleeping too long, Alex felt remarkably good all over. "Pietro, what time is it?" Alex asked as he groggily climbed out of bed and stretched. However, there was no response to his question. Alex raised an eyebrow and turned to look, only to see Pietro sitting on the bed with his back to him, wearing headphones, and doing something. There was also a bottle of cola next to him. Headphones? Cola? Alex was momentarily stunned and then rubbed his eyes. He saw that the previously empty room was now filled with several large boxes stacked in the corner, which appeared to contain various snacks based on their packaging. There were also several large unopened boxes of cola on the floor. Besides, several phones were casually placed on the bed, and Pietro was tinkering with a computer. Alex's mouth twitched as he got out of bed, unsure of where to step amidst all the stuff. Seemingly hearing the commotion behind him, Pietro turned his head and took off his headphones. "Alex, you're awake. I have to tell you, this world is amazing. There are so many games I've never played before." "You rascal," Alex said, covering his face. Without a doubt, Pietro must have stole these things from somewhere. With his speed, it wasn't surprising that he could do this. It seemed like Pietro's legs were truly healed. "Do you have anything to eat?" Alex knew that Pietro was just too excited about being in a new environment. Although stealing was wrong, now wasn't the time to correct his values. "Of course, I have pizza and hamburgers here. If you want any other type of food, I can go get it for you right now and be back in 10 seconds, but it will be a random selection." Okay, just stop. "I'll eat anything." Alex quickly stopped Pietro from rushing out. He opened a box of pizza, which was still steaming hot. It seemed like Pietro had just brought these things back not long ago. "I don't even care where you got these things from. I just want to know how you managed to carry so much stuff back with one hand. If I can't carry it all at once, I'll just make multiple trips." Pietro cheerfully jumped on the bed. "This world is great. No superpowered people, no dictatorial President X, none of that despair-inducing world. And most importantly, no mutants. Well, you really think too much." Alex shook his head helplessly and said casually, "Listen, Pietro, I don't want to dampen your excitement, but I need to tell you something. We won't be staying in this world for long. Once we recharge the machine, we'll leave this universe. Leave here? Why? Pietro's excitement instantly faded. I haven't finished playing the games here yet. There are so many interesting things, not just arcade games but also single-player games, and I can even play online. I haven't tried any of that yet. This can't be helped. But the things you mentioned should exist in other universes as well. As for why we can't stay in this universe permanently, it's because... I know. Before Alex could finish, Pietro interjected. It's because we aren't in our original timeline. So if we stay here for too long, we'll be rejected by the timeline and end up constantly traversing through different timelines in this universe. Alex opened his mouth but then said helplessly, I don't know when you became so knowledgeable about physics, but what you're talking about is probably temporal slippage or temporal detachment. As far as I know, we've already left our original timeline, so it's unlikely that will happen. Oh, I have another theory. Pietro raised a finger and continued. It must be because we came to a different universe, causing our bodies to be incompatible with this universe's dimensions. If we stay here for too long, we'll die, right? What you're describing is the quantum repulsion effect in parallel universes. But since we arrived here through the Time Variance Authority's time controller, which allows for regulated travel, that shouldn't happen either. I see. Let me think some more. Alright, stop thinking about it. It has nothing to do with quantum mechanics, parallel universes, or dimensional mismatches. The reason we have to leave here is simple, this world is about to end, understand? It's going to be destroyed soon. This world is going to be destroyed. Pietro's mouth dropped open. How is that possible? This world is so nice, no wars, people living peacefully, and there's great food and games. Who would destroy it? Alex slapped his own face in frustration. Please, when you went out this morning to bring all this stuff back, didn't you stop to check the news? This is what the whole world is talking about right now. You've been out so many times, and you didn't notice. Oh, that. Pietro scratched his head awkwardly. I was too busy dodging surveillance cameras. And if I stopped, I might have been caught red-handed. Sigh. Alex walked over to Pietro, turned the laptop screen to face him, and opened a news homepage at random, showing the live monitoring of General Zed's Kryptonian spaceship hovering in the sky. See this? This alien spaceship? This planet might not be destroyed by war, but our situation in the universe isn't safe either. On that ship is a guy named Zed, and he's about to destroy this planet. Listening to Alex's explanation, Pietro stared intently at the screen. To be honest, the spaceship did look quite intimidating. Isn't there anyone on this planet who can stop him? Pietro found it hard to believe that such a large planet could be destroyed by just one spaceship. There was supposed to be. This planet originally had a group called the Justice League. You can think of it as another version of the Avengers. If they were here, they could indeed stop Zed. But unfortunately, in this universe, most members of the Justice League were never born, and those who were haven't gained their superpowers yet. How could that be? Because this universe is an artificially created parallel world. I don't know how to explain it, but you can think of it as a universe where no one can stop all this. Alex spread his hands. Even with the two of us, we can't do it. Chapter 31. An unstoppable catastrophe? In this aspect, Alex wasn't lying to Pietro. General Zed, as a Kryptonian general, was incredibly powerful. Even though he initially struggled to adapt to the yellow sun's radiation upon arriving on Earth, he quickly got used to it. Under the sunlight, he became an unstoppable force. Superman, or Kryptonians in general, derive their main power from the yellow sun. The sunlight transforms their cells, making them nearly invincible, granting them extraordinary strength, speed, reflexes, and even the ability to emit laser beams from their eyes. Their abilities are terrifyingly strong. If they reach their peak, even the old gods on Earth would avoid confronting them. This shows just how powerful Kryptonians are, making it incredibly challenging to stop Zed. Wouldn't nuclear bombs work? The Kree were taken out by nukes, Pietro asked curiously, recalling the alien invasion in his universe and the captured Kree. It's not that simple. Nuclear bombs would indeed hurt Kryptonians, but they are vastly different from the Kree. Kryptonians' individual combat abilities are terrifying. It's uncertain if a nuke would even hit them, and even if it did, it's questionable whether it could kill Zed under the yellow sun, Alex explained, shaking his head. He had been contemplating ways to stop General Zed, but according to his knowledge, there weren't many effective methods available. Firstly, there was Superman. Superman could snap Zed's neck because he grew up on Earth and had absorbed 30 years' worth of sunlight, making his body incredibly powerful. Zed, fresh to Earth, couldn't compare. Initially, Zed and his female lieutenant overpowered Superman due to their extensive combat experience as they were bred for battle from the genetic pool. However, Superman's super intellect allowed him to quickly adapt and learn, eventually turning the tide against Zed. Despite his reluctance, Superman ultimately killed Zed to protect humanity. But now, there was no Superman on Earth, only a girl who had been imprisoned for 20 years without seeing sunlight. Although she was Kryptonian and had just started absorbing yellow sunlight, expecting her to fight a battle-hardened general like Zed was tantamount to sending her to her death. In fact, Supergirl Kara did put up a good fight in her rage, but she didn't cause any substantial damage. Even with Flash's help, they couldn't escape their fate. The gap in their abilities was too vast. Even if the Justice League were assembled, Alex doubted they could defeat Zed without Superman, as evidenced by the entire Justice League struggling against a newly resurrected Superman. Furthermore, if not for the intervention of the older Flash, the younger Flash wouldn't exist in this universe. This universe was a closed-loop universe from start to finish. The older Flash came back to save his mother, and he was sent here by the future younger Flash who needed the older Flash's help to obtain the Speed Force. Without the traumatic event of his mother's death, the younger Flash wouldn't experience the destined lightning accident, thus wouldn't become the Flash, nor would there be a reverse Flash. But time is fragile. The intervention of the future younger Flash caused the older Flash to come to this universe and help the younger Flash gain the Speed Force, completing the time loop and closing the universe's timeline. Due to this unnatural loop, the universe began to collapse under the older Flash's reckless actions, threatening several parallel universes. However, you couldn't blame the future younger Flash. His intentions were good, he just wanted to save his world from Zed's destruction, hence his repeated time travels. But it wasn't that simple. Defeating a Kryptonian without superior combat power required the aid of kryptonite. Kryptonite, the radioactive remnants of Krypton after its destruction, is scarce even on a cosmic scale. If memory serves, Lex Luthor found a sizable chunk of kryptonite in the Pacific Ocean in the movie Batman v Superman, but Alex doubted he could find it in such a short time. And crucially, if this universe was destined for destruction, the timeline wouldn't leave such a significant flaw. So, the most likely scenario was that no kryptonite existed on Earth. Even if it landed on the moon, it wouldn't reach Earth. Is he really that strong? Not even I can beat him. Pietro was still confused. Let me put it this way, if you ran at full speed around the Earth and punched him, you'd just knock him away, and he'd brush off the dust and get up, while you'd be pulverized by the recoil, Alex explained, spreading his hands. How can that be? If you could bring President X or Scarlet Witch over, we might stand a chance. Kryptonians aren't immune to magic and psychic attacks. But that's not going to happen, Alex joked. Bringing President X would mean he'd just take over Zed's body. Combining invincible psychic powers with an indestructible body and reality-altering chaos magic, the entire multiverse would face a new threat. Is there really no way? Are we just going to watch this world's destruction and do nothing? Pietro was disheartened. He didn't care about his universe because it was beyond saving, but this world was different. There were so many beautiful things here. They didn't deserve to be destroyed. Seeing Pietro's sadness, Alex sighed and then smiled. Actually, there might be a way. I have a plan, but I can't guarantee it will work. Really? Pietro's eyes lit up. I knew it, you always have a solution. Don't flatter me yet. We have a lot to do, and there's no time for games, Alex said, patting Pietro on the shoulder. Ha, games can wait. What do we do next? Pietro asked, tossing his headphones aside and standing up excitedly. First. A sly smile appeared on Alex's face. We're going to Gotham to see an old friend. Chapter 32. Batman. Gotham City, like Metropolis, is one of the unique cities in the DC universe. Located on the east coast of New Jersey, it faces Metropolis across the sea. Gotham is an incredibly diverse city, with architectural styles from almost every country in the world. It features elements from famous cities like New York, Los Angeles, London, and Sydney, as well as traditional Japanese styles. However, this city, with its many landmarks and historical sites, is perpetually shrouded in dark clouds that can't be dispelled. Beneath its glamorous surface lies the cruelty of the alleyways, a perfect example of outward splendor concealing internal decay. Gangs, criminals, mad scientists, and lunatics. Everything imaginable in terms of chaos happens in Gotham. It is the city with the highest crime rate in the world. Yet, just as Metropolis has Superman, Gotham also has its dark guardian. Batman. By day, he is a playboy billionaire, but by night, he transforms into the Bat Vigilante. Whenever the bat signal pierces the sky, criminals throughout Gotham are gripped by fear, knowing that the vengeful spectre has arrived to punish all evil in the city. Batman has no superpowers and is not a meta-human. He relies solely on years of rigorous training and exceptional intelligence, single-handedly challenging Gotham's criminal underworld. To most people, he is more of a myth, a mere urban legend. Batman's true identity is Bruce Wayne, the head of Wayne Enterprises. His entire life has been dedicated to fighting crime. However, in this universe, Bruce has been retired for a long time. Alex and Pietro took a taxi from Metropolis to Gotham, heading towards Wayne Manor. Throughout the journey, Alex's mind was unsettled as he looked at the city, no longer in need of Batman's protection. His emotions were complex. Bruce Wayne had retired, and Gotham no longer needed Batman because it had become one of the safest cities in the world. The reason? This world's Batman didn't adhere to a no-kill rule. Instead of handing criminals over to the police or sending them to Arkham Asylum, he killed them outright. The likes of the Joker, Riddler, Two-Face, Black Mask, Court of Owls, League of Assassins, Man-Bat, Killer Croc, and Solomon Grundy. Every notable villain had fallen to Batman's lethal justice. That's why Gotham transformed from a city filled with crime to one of the safest cities around. As the old saying goes, if you kill all the criminals, there will be no more crime. Approaching Wayne Manor, Alex couldn't help but shake his head. Batman's actions and their results indicated that this was far from a normal universe, it was clearly on the brink of collapse. It wasn't that Batman couldn't kill, but the way things unfolded here was unlike most universes. If this universe weren't doomed to destruction, Alex believed that after wiping out the villains, this Batman would likely turn into a villain himself. He might not even need to kill all the villains. Just taking out the Joker or Riddler would suffice. The death of either could plant the seed of darkness within Batman. "We're here, sir. I can't go any further, this is private property," the taxi driver said, smiling as he turned around. He didn't know why these two kids had traveled all the way from Metropolis to Gotham, but he knew that anyone visiting Wayne Manor was no ordinary person. Although the place seemed long abandoned, and the old man inside hadn't appeared in a long time, Wayne Enterprises remained a prominent and wealthy enterprise. "Thanks," Alex nodded, pulling out a wad of cash. Pietro's earnings from pickpocketing. It was unclear how much he gave, but judging by the driver's smile, it was a generous amount. After the taxi drove off, Alex turned to Pietro and nodded, climbing onto Pietro's back. "Hey, Alex, which building are we looking for in this huge estate?" Pietro asked, glancing at the sprawling manors. "The central one. The gate is too high, you'll need to run with anti-gravity. But to be safe, let's head to the main manor entrance. Even though the old bat has retired, we can't assume there won't be whoosh traps." In a blur, Alex found himself at the entrance of the manor, with Pietro grinning beside him. "What's next? Do we ring the doorbell?" Pietro asked, pointing at the old-fashioned bell. Ignoring Pietro, Alex walked to the door and pressed the bell. Clearly, no one had visited for a long time, even the button was covered in dust. After ringing the bell, Alex rubbed the dust off his fingers, waiting for a response. After about 5 or 6 minutes, the manor remained silent, as if uninhabited. "Is anyone home?" Pietro asked. "They're here. Bruce Wayne is inside," Alex said, licking his dry lips. He looked up at the surveillance camera with a red light above the door. Stepping back to ensure he was in full view of the camera, Alex spoke clearly. "Bruce Wayne, I know you're here, and I know you can see me. This world needs your help. I believe you understand what I'm saying. Can we talk?" The atmosphere grew tense as Alex stared at the camera, certain Bruce would open the door. Since their arrival at Wayne Manor's gate, they'd been under surveillance. Bruce would have noticed Pietro's high-speed movement. An individual with superpowers coming to his door signaled urgent matters and significant threats. Despite being retired, Batman wouldn't leave them outside, because he is Batman. As if to confirm Alex's thoughts. Click. The manor door opened, revealing a disheveled old man with an extremely impatient expression. The second surprise of the day. I'm so thrilled. Come in, kids. Chapter 33. A joke. A second surprise. Alex's ears perked up. He caught the undertone in Bruce Wayne's words, and at the same time, he found his own answer. However, on the surface, Alex didn't say anything or show any reaction. The two followed Bruce Wayne into the castle. The decoration here was even more exquisite than that of President X's castle, but Alex had no mood to appreciate it. His gaze remained fixed on Bruce Wayne. Let me introduce myself. I am Alex, and this is Pietro. We are from another universe. Originally, we just planned to rest here for a while, but it seems this universe is on the brink of a catastrophic disaster. If you're talking about the multiverse and timeline alteration stuff, then you've got the wrong guy. I'm just an old man enjoying his retirement. But I'm happy to introduce you to the culprit behind this disaster. Bruce Wayne grinned. I came here to find you, Bruce. I need your help, Alex said seriously. Is that so? Bruce Wayne kept walking without turning his head. So, you're one of my friends, a close comrade in another universe. You might be misunderstanding. I don't know you. None of the universes I've been to had you. You're the first Bruce Wayne I've seen in person. Then how do you know about me? Bruce Wayne casually picked up a bottle of wine, sipping as he walked. There was no emotional reaction in his tone. The interconnectedness of universes. I know most people and events in various universes, naturally including you, Batman. Each universe is interconnected, yet unable to be fully observed. However, this doesn't mean they don't influence each other. Many universes have your presence, and you are the one and only Batman. Do you know that I am retired, and in this world, there are no other superheroes you know of? So, you've got the wrong person. No, my purpose is very simple, not as complicated as you think. Other superheroes mean nothing to me. My goal here is you. Alex paused and then added, and also to try saving this world from its impending doom. Bruce Wayne laughed deeply at this, then he swayed and stopped at the door of a room. Judging by the scent coming from inside, it should be the kitchen. If you're here to save this world, then I think you should be looking for the people responsible for this mess, not me. Look, they're right in here. Following Bruce Wayne's direction, Alex saw two identical men sitting at the table in the kitchen. One of them was shoveling noodles into his mouth. At first glance, Alex recognized the two men as Barry Allen from the future and Barry Allen from this timeline. It seemed that they had followed the storyline where the older Barry Allen tried helping younger Barry Allen to gain superpowers. However, they were both struck by a lightning bolt, causing the speed force from the older Barry Allen to transfer to the younger Barry Allen. This resulted in the older Barry Allen losing his speed force, no longer being a speedster, while the younger Barry Allen became a super speedster. This likely explained why skills that took the older Barry Allen a long time to master, like vibrating his body to phase through objects, were learned effortlessly by the younger Barry Allen. It seems this is the first surprise you mentioned, Alex smiled, not surprised. Yes, since you're from another universe, I assume you know each other. So, you all should have a good chat. As for me, I'll stay out of it, Bruce Wayne said, picking up another bottle of wine and slumping on the stairs to drink. No, I don't know them at all. I've never seen these two people. Wait, you said they're also from another universe. The older Barry Allen's eyes widened as he jumped up, staring intently at Alex and Pietro, his hands trembling as he raised them and stammered, "That's impossible." "Nothing is impossible, Barry Allen," Alex stepped forward with a serious tone. "You don't know me, but I know you. You originally lived in a world full of hope, even though it was suffering, but heroes still emerged to save it. However, you destroyed it with your own hands." "I did not," the older Barry Allen retorted. "Did not? Then tell me, where is Aquaman in this world? Where is Wonder Woman? Can you confidently say that Atlantis and Themyscira still exist in this world?" Alex pressed on. The older Barry Allen was stunned, finally realizing the gravity of his actions. He grabbed his head with both hands, his face contorted in agony. "What have I done? Don't tell me Bruce Wayne didn't warn you about the consequences of your actions spiraling out of control." You're playing with everyone's lives and the safety of the timeline. Alex said sternly. Without Atlantis and Themyscira, how will you fight Steppenwolf? Let alone deal with Zed now. Did I warn him? Bruce Wayne asked. Not you, the Bruce Wayne from his universe. Alex glanced at the slightly drunken Bruce and then continued to Barry Allen. Do you know how selfish you are? You have no idea what happened that day, yet you recklessly altered the timeline according to your own ideas. This is incredibly irresponsible. Look at this world, this is the world you created, and it is about to be destroyed by Zed. I can stop all this, the older Barry Allen argued. Stop it. That's easy to say. But have you thought about it? From the moment you altered the timeline, 2 or more universes were created. For the people living in those universes, they are living beings with their own stories and experiences. Are you planning to erase their value and existence? At this point, Alex glanced at the older Bruce. Yes, perhaps this world's Batman was different from most other Batmen, but he had his own story, and those stories inspired and influenced others. However, with the older Barry Allen's alterations, they were all erased. Everyone in this world, no matter what achievements they had, no matter what sacrifices they made. In the end, they all became nothing more than a joke told by Barry Allen to Aquaman. Chapter 34. Batman's Old Friends' Relics. It shouldn't be like this. Barry Allen was on the verge of a breakdown. He had already witnessed the changes in this universe firsthand. His mother was indeed alive, but his most trusted friends had disappeared. He didn't know if what he had done was right or wrong, but he already regretted it. Perhaps, as Bruce Wayne said, time is an extremely fragile and unstable thing. Any change can cause it to undergo unpredictable changes. Maybe every superhero needs to go through some setbacks to grow, no matter how desperate those setbacks are, but they are inevitable. Changing the timeline was clearly a selfish act. I can make it right, can't I? Barry Allen asked Alex blankly. Although he didn't know who these 2 people claiming to be from another universe were, it was clear that they were more knowledgeable than him. He was just a speedster who could travel through the timeline, and a novice at that, having just learned about the Speed Force's power and still unable to fully understand and control it. But Alex, the man in front of him, could freely traverse various parallel universes. Their knowledge and understanding of parallel universes were far superior to his, so Barry sincerely hoped that they could tell him how to remedy his mistakes. Seeing Barry's reaction, Alex felt a bit helpless. Who could have thought that after escaping from an extremely desperate universe, he would immediately have to clean up the mess of a rookie Flash? It's not that easy. Although I don't want to discourage you, the fact is, this universe is hard to save. Even if you go back and correct the history, a broken mirror can never be fully restored. Like a shattered mirror, even if you piece it back together, the corrected timeline will still have cracks. How could this be? Barry Allen took a few steps back and collapsed into a chair. Do you finally realize the magnitude of the trouble you've caused? The time branch has already formed. For you, going back to fix the timeline might restore a universe similar to the one you were in before, but that doesn't mean the universe you created will disappear. Alex pointed downwards with his index finger and said. For the people here, this universe doesn't disappear, you do. You mistakenly created this universe and then abandoned it. After you leave, this universe will continue to operate and ultimately become dust in the multiverse. What should I do then? Barry Allen gritted his teeth in pain. Suddenly, he seemed to think of something and looked up hesitantly. What if we deal with the problem of Zed? Will this universe still be doomed? You really dare to say that? Alex gave a bitter smile. Dealing with General Zed was easier said than done. However, Barry Allen wasn't entirely wrong. This world would indeed ultimately be destroyed by General Zed. But if they could find a way to solve this problem, the world might survive past this hurdle and develop like a normal parallel universe. Although this universe didn't have Superman, Wonder Woman, or Aquaman, that didn't mean it couldn't have Green Lantern, Martian Manhunter, or Green Arrow in the future. Anything was possible, and no one could predict the future. Moreover, without the mother boxes, Darkseid wouldn't wage war on the old gods of Earth, which likely meant Steppenwolf wouldn't come to claim the mother boxes. This world might actually break free from its original constraints and become a free timeline. Thinking of this, Alex nodded. If you can solve that problem, then this universe can survive, and you can make up for your mistakes. What should I do? Can you teach me? Barry Allen asked earnestly, grasping at his last hope. Don't you already have a plan? Why else would you come here to find Batman? Alex hinted. What? Bruce Wayne is Batman? Young Barry Allen, who had been quietly eating noodles, exclaimed. Barry Allen was speechless. He turned to his younger self and said, "What else did you think? Why else would I bring you here? You said we were visiting a relative." "I thought we were looking for a cousin," young Barry mumbled. Barry Allen pointed at his younger counterpart, speechless. He never imagined that he could be so foolish in this timeline. "All right, enough of that. Barry, don't you have work to do? Time is running out. You need to act quickly," Alex said, patting Barry Allen's shoulder. Hearing this, Barry Allen realized what he had to do. He nodded. "You're right. I need to find Superman. If we can find him, we'll have a chance to defeat Zod." With that, Barry Allen and his younger self rushed out. Their goal, besides finding Batman, was to use his supercomputer to locate the scattered superheroes. Of course, the main focus was Superman. In Barry Allen's memory, it was Superman who defeated General Zod. Watching the two Barrys rush out, Alex sighed and turned to look at Bruce Wayne, who was drunk on the stairs. "You're just letting them into your Batcave? That's not like you." "Ha ha ha," Bruce Wayne chuckled deeply, took another swig of his drink, and said with a laugh, "It seems you know me better than that young man who claimed to be a friend of another world's Batman. Interesting. I'm more curious about you two than them. Honestly, how long has it been since you bathed? The smell of blood and gunpowder on you is so strong, I thought you'd just come from a battlefield." "If you put it that way, you're not wrong. We've been through some rough times," Alex said, spreading his hands. "So, what do you want? As you can see, I'm no superhuman. I'm just an ordinary person, far from your level. So, I'm here hoping you can provide some weapons and equipment to give me a chance to protect myself." "Oh." Bruce Wayne's weary eyes suddenly gleamed with light. His lazy demeanor instantly transformed into a sharp, cold presence. Under his gaze, Alex felt his hair stand on end, his back prickling with tension. After a long while, Bruce Wayne finally spoke. His white beard trembled as he slowly said, "Why should I help you?" Alex paused for a moment before responding with a faint smile. "Then why are you helping them?" Bruce Wayne fell silent, his eyes fixed on Alex as if trying to see through him. The entire kitchen fell into a tense silence. No one spoke, including Pietro, who had wanted to say something but chose to remain quiet to avoid disrupting the serious atmosphere. Finally, the old Batman snorted, breaking the silence. Bruce Wayne took a swig from his bottle and said in a deliberately casual tone, "It doesn't matter. I'm retired anyway. You want my batsuit? Fine, I'll give you two." "No, I don't want your batsuit." To Bruce's surprise, Alex shook his head. "Your batsuit is impressive, but as I said, I'm far from having your physical condition. Even if you give it to me, I wouldn't be able to fully utilize its power and would be restricted by it." "Then what do you want?" Bruce Wayne put down his bottle. Seeing his curious gaze, Alex smiled harmlessly. "I want your old friend's relics." Chapter 35. The Villain's Relics, Part 1. Walking along the long tunnel, Alex and Pietro headed towards the Batcave. This path was revealed to Alex by old Bruce Wayne. There were many ways to enter the Batcave from Wayne Manor, far more than the abandoned manhole cover in the backyard remembered by Barry Allen. In fact, there was a secret passage within Wayne Castle itself. Old Bruce Wayne didn't tell Barry Allen about this route because he wanted to see if they were truly, as they claimed, his good friends from another timeline. From the surveillance footage, it was clear that the two Barry Allens had easily and familiarly found their way to the Batcave, demonstrating a thorough understanding of its layout. This eased old Bruce Wayne's vigilance a bit. Although he didn't know what his counterpart from another universe was like, old Bruce Wayne believed that if the other version of himself trusted these young men with the Batcave's entrance, they must be trustworthy. As for Alex and Pietro, this mysterious duo, old Bruce Wayne decided to trust them for now. General Zod's arrival had plunged the entire world into crisis. No matter their intentions, the world was already in grave danger. Holding the key given to him by old Bruce Wayne, Alex felt incredibly excited. Even though he hadn't met the Batman at his prime, he was still meeting a legendary superhero from another universe. This place was far better than the universe Pietro came from. Although many superheroes were missing and the Justice League couldn't be formed, it was still better than the Avengers being wiped out and the X-Men either going mad or turning dark. In this universe, Alex could truly witness the glory of superheroes. Alex, I've been meaning to ask you, who are those people? You seem to know them well. What is Batman, and are they the superheroes you mentioned? Pietro asked curiously. They are indeed superheroes. As for why I know them so well, you'll understand after you've traveled through a few more universes. Batman was the title of that old white-bearded man when he was younger. He wasn't an ordinary person, he waged war against the crime of an entire city, Alex replied with a smile. Waging war against an entire city's crime? That's terrifying. He just looked like an old man, Pietro found it hard to believe. From his perspective, old Bruce Wayne seemed like a regular old guy. Pietro even thought he could beat him with one hand tied behind his back, without using his super speed. Don't underestimate him. He may be old now, but his combat experience is still sharp. If you give him time to prepare, he could kill you even if you weren't missing an arm, Alex laughed and shook his head. Challenging Batman wasn't just a joke. Seriously? Is it really as exaggerated as you say? Pietro responded skeptically, almost sarcastically. Alex just smiled and didn't argue further. There was no point in debating now. However, he planned to have a good talk with Pietro sometime about how many speedsters met their end in the DC universe. The two moved quickly and finally stopped at a large door deep within the passage. The door had a bat symbol on it, with a keyhole below the bat. This is it, Alex hurriedly inserted the key and excitedly rubbed his hands together. With the rumbling of steel grinding, the door slowly opened, revealing the room inside. Once the door was fully open, the chandelier inside automatically lit up, displaying all the items in the room. Wow! Pietro's mouth dropped open. Although he had looked down on Batman, these trophies still amazed him. This looks just like President X's secret room. Alex, could this Batman also be a dictator like President X? What do you think? Pietro recalled the harmless-looking, drunken old man and laughed. Impossible. He doesn't have terrifying abilities like President X. But, Alex, is there really something here that can boost your combat abilities? These seem like items for regular people. Pietro, you need to have respect. Each item here, every object, its owner has left a significant mark on Gotham City's history. Don't underestimate them, Alex said seriously. He then began to compare each displayed item with his memories. Although this world didn't have other superheroes, most of Batman's arch-enemies were still around. From the packed display room, it was evident that this world's Batman had defeated most of Gotham's villains. Alex walked around, pausing now and then. Each displayed item continuously triggered long-forgotten memories. That's Black Mask's mask, rumored to be carved from his father's coffin. And that's Killer Moth's costume. Too bad he's weak, and his suit is useless. There's Professor Pyg's pig mask, another lunatic who loved experimenting and killing. What's this? A calendar? It must be Calendar Man. Oh my, is that Deadshot's mask? Quite stylish. And a Firefly suit and flamethrower. That must belong to Firefly. Oh, and the Mad Hatter's hat. I can't believe Batman took him down too. Putting down the hat, Alex turned to the other side, where a golden cane with a question mark was displayed prominently. Alex, look, there's a whip here. Wouldn't it suit me? Pietro called out. Alex turned and saw Pietro playing with a black whip. From its non-reflective state under the light, it was clear the whip's material wasn't ordinary. However, now wasn't the time to be concerned about the whip's material. Alex pointed at a surveillance camera and said to Pietro, "For your safety, I suggest you put that whip back where you found it." Okay. Pietro smiled awkwardly and quickly put the whip back. He wasn't afraid of Bruce Wayne on the other side of the camera, he was just listening to Alex. "Hey, Alex, have you found what you're looking for?" "Almost," Alex replied casually. Then, out of the corner of his eye, he spotted a finely crafted umbrella. Turning to it, Alex smiled. "Aha, I've found one of them." Chapter 36. The Villain's Relics, Part 2. It was a seemingly ordinary umbrella, just like the ones people commonly use. However, it had some differences. The craftsmanship was exquisite, making it resemble a collectible piece of art. When Alex picked up the umbrella, it felt solid in his hand. Clearly, the umbrella's canopy was not made of ordinary material but was instead composed of bulletproof technology similar to Batman's cape. Additionally, the umbrella's frame was sturdy and heavy, heavier than Alex had anticipated. At the center of the umbrella was a sophisticated control device that extended to the handle, equipped with several buttons. Alex didn't dare to touch them casually, as using such a finely tuned and complex mechanism without understanding it could be dangerous. Alex was thrilled as he looked at the umbrella, unable to contain his smile. Who could resist a technologically advanced umbrella like this? Next to the umbrella, he found a small notebook. Opening it, he saw it was filled with detailed instructions on how to use the umbrella and descriptions of its various intricate mechanisms. Clearly, this notebook was left by Batman, who had thoroughly studied the umbrella's gadgets. It was hard to imagine that this umbrella originated in the 1970s or 80s. Such a sophisticated device was beyond the capabilities of ordinary people and was an extremely complex piece of high-tech equipment. The first one, Penguin's umbrella. Alex's hand trembled slightly as he gripped the umbrella. According to Batman's notes, the umbrella was equipped with various powerful technologies, far more practical than his previous Iron Man suit that only had palm repulsors. With a quick glance, Alex noticed the umbrella could shoot bullets, launch small missiles, fire lasers from its top, and release poison gas from its tip, though the bullets were not yet loaded. In addition, the umbrella handle could be pulled out to reveal a sword. When opened, the umbrella could act as a shield. Furthermore, the umbrella could spin rapidly when opened, functioning as a small helicopter. It was a multifunctional weapon. This was a Bulgarian umbrella, clearly inspired by a real-life assassination. In 1978, Bulgarian writer Markov, who had defected to London, was pricked on the leg with an umbrella on Waterloo Bridge and died 4 days later from poisoning. In this universe, the umbrella became Penguin's signature weapon, with its various gadgets even giving Batman a headache. After finding the umbrella, Alex quickly located his next target. It was a bottle placed next to a worn-out mask, containing some bright green liquid with a label reading "Do not open" in red paint. The bottle's label identified it as fear toxin. The second one, Scarecrow's fear toxin. Alex smiled as he noticed Batman had helpfully left the formula for the fear toxin next to the bottle, showing that Batman had thoroughly understood his old foe's weapons. Fear toxin was the hallmark of Gotham villain Scarecrow. Once released, it was colorless and odorless, causing those affected to experience terrifying hallucinations, seeing their deepest fears. Most notably, the fear toxin was extremely potent, with few creatures immune to it. Even Superman had been affected by it, demonstrating its fearsome power. Perhaps the only thing that could surpass the fear toxin was Joker's laughing gas. Unfortunately, Alex couldn't find any laughing gas or its formula here. The only Joker-related items were a laughing pouch and a Joker belt containing many non-lethal weapons. Maybe I can put this fear toxin into Penguin's umbrella. After all, it has a poison gas mechanism, Alex thought, and quickly decided to combine the two weapons. Batman had many enemies, most of whom were intellectual adversaries. Whether it was the Mad Hatter, Penguin, Scarecrow, or Joker, their high-tech weapons were secondary to their cunning. So, when Alex was looking for equipment, he focused on practicality rather than the villains' reputations. No matter how famous the villains were, their equipment needed to be useful to him. Soon, Alex found another useful item, though it wasn't for himself but specifically for Pietro. It was a staff, similar to Riddler's cane but more flamboyant, designed to resemble lightning. The staff could release powerful electric currents for attacks. At full power, it could generate a lightning strike, capable of instantly reducing a person to a charred corpse. Pietro, try this. A speedster who can release lightning. You could be an alternative Flash, Alex said, handing the lightning staff to Pietro, who was visibly excited. Alex, this thing looks awesome. Is it powerful? It's decent. It can't compare to the lightning of the real Thor or Zeus, but it's still a formidable weapon, Alex explained. The staff's previous owner was a wealthy man named Maxi Zeus, who idolized the ancient Greek gods and aimed to conquer the world using ancient Greek rule. He established one of Gotham's largest gangs, claiming to be Zeus incarnate and believing the Olympian gods supported him. In short, he was a complete lunatic. Yet, he was one of Gotham's most feared gang leaders. During his heyday, Penguin was just a minor thug. Apart from these items, the remaining ones held little interest for Alex. Whether it was Ventriloquist's puppet, Kite Man's kites, or Talon's weapons, they were ordinary and wouldn't offer any effective assistance. Alex did see items belonging to Bane, KG Beast, and Deathstroke, but he couldn't find the mysterious serums that granted superhuman abilities. It seemed Batman had likely destroyed those. Knowing Batman, he would never keep such things around. Unlike fear toxins, these serums, like Captain America's, could instantly turn someone into a super soldier, also amplifying their inner darkness. Batman, who fought against the darkness in people's hearts all his life, wouldn't use such things and wouldn't keep them either. However, Alex was surprised to see that the display room also contained the heads of Man-Bat and Killer Croc, preserved as specimens. It seemed the Wayne family, known for their hunting heritage, had turned these villains into trophies. If these villains weren't so excessive, Batman might have been Gotham's biggest villain. Chapter 37. Misunderstanding. After gathering the required weapons, Alex closed the door to the display room and retraced his steps with Pietro. Alex highly valued items that could enhance his combat abilities. The saying "Know thyself, know thy enemy" is essential when traversing these dangerous universes. Without strong combat skills, survival was impossible. Even with Pietro, the speedster, as a bodyguard, Alex never felt completely safe. Every universe harbored beings at their peak of combat power, and facing them would easily result in death for an ordinary person like him due to the residual effects of their battles. Alex was well aware of his limitations. He didn't have any particularly impressive skills, and his combat experience was mostly from street brawls. He knew nothing about advanced technology and couldn't create powerful armor like Tony Stark. Under these circumstances, to improve combat ability there were only two ways: technology for the wealthy and mutations for the poor. However, walking these paths was far from easy. Alex had to start by taking some suitable equipment from Batman to increase his chances of survival. Back in the dining room, Alex couldn't find old Bruce Wayne. Assuming Bruce had already gone to the Batcave, Alex and Pietro were about to head there when they found Bruce shaving in the bathroom. "Did you find what you were looking for?" Bruce asked, seeing Alex through the mirror while rinsing the foam off his face. "I found some useful stuff, thanks to your notes. I can now skillfully operate this multifunctional umbrella, and under the right conditions, I can also produce fear gas," Alex said, holding up the umbrella. Bruce merely nodded, indicating he knew all about Alex's actions in the display room. Alex also knew Bruce was constantly monitoring him. Neither mentioned it, maintaining a tacit understanding. "Any leads on Superman's whereabouts?" "I doubt Barry Allen can find any clues. If Superman is an alien, there should be a corresponding spaceship. With no answers after so long, it's likely some organization intercepted it." Bruce was silent for a moment. After drying his face and hands, he picked up a file from the side table. Alex took the file, feeling the warmth of the freshly printed pages. It was hard to believe Bruce had found Superman's whereabouts so quickly. Even though Batman was old, his skills hadn't dulled. In the movie, Barry Allen searched from afternoon till midnight without finding anything. Yet Bruce, excluding time spent cleaning the dining room and shaving, took less than 20 minutes. The file contained records from the Russian Security Bureau, describing an alien spacecraft entering Earth's atmosphere and landing in Russia. Though some information was blacked out, it was clear the ship was secretly controlled and stored in a military base in the snowfields, where experiments were conducted. There were even records of capturing a live alien. This was Superman's current location. Interestingly, in Alex's memory, the comic's Flashpoint event involved Superman being captured and imprisoned by the US government. In the movie, it was Supergirl captured by the Russians. "Did you tell Barry? He might still be using your Bat network to search for his Superman," Alex asked after scanning the file. "I wanted to see how familiar that kid is with my Bat equipment and how he handles things. Turns out, he's just a rookie vigilante with powers but no skills." Bruce shook his head. "Indeed. From what I know, he usually operates under another universe's Batman and Alfred's guidance. This is his first time working alone, especially after causing such a big mess," Alex sighed. As they chatted, they took an elevator from a castle to the Batcave. Upon entering, the sight made Alex shake his head. Adult Barry Allen was seriously searching for Superman, while young Barry Allen sped around the Batcave like it was a playground. Young Barry was too wild, spoiled by his parents, unaware of the severity of the situation, making the serious and quiet Bruce frown. Finally, Alex spoke. "Pietro, make him stop." Pietro instantly vanished. His eagerness showed he had wanted to do this for a while. Growing up under President X's rule, Pietro faced human oppression and discrimination against mutants, making him serious and composed during crises. Seeing the immature young Barry, Pietro's disdain for spoiled kids surfaced. Within seconds, Alex and Bruce felt a gust of wind. Pietro appeared holding young Barry's hand. "Wow, you're a speedster too. I can't believe there's someone with the same ability. Were you struck by lightning too?" Young Barry exclaimed. "Quiet, kid. I'm a mutant. My speed is innate, not from a lightning strike." Pietro frowned, clearly annoyed. "You're a kid too. And you're slow. I wasn't even using my full speed. Do you think you can catch me?" Young Barry retorted. Their actions caught adult Barry's attention. He intervened, stopping young Barry from challenging Pietro to another speed contest. "You're a speedster? Did you also travel through time to get here?" Adult Barry asked, curious. "We have specialized equipment for controlled time travel," Alex half-truthfully replied. Even Bruce couldn't tell if he was lying. Before anyone else could react, young Barry spoke up. "Oh, I get it. You're like time cops, here to handle time violations and arrest those who disrupt timelines, right?" Young Barry's words shocked adult Barry. He never expected his attempt to save his mother would cause such chaos and attract the attention of time cops. Seeing their misunderstanding, Alex didn't explain. Although not part of the Time Variance Authority, he did use a time controller for travel. The TVA indeed managed multiverse timelines. Since they assumed, he let them. Whether the TVA could manage DC Universe timelines wasn't Alex's concern. No one would expose him. Alex calmly glanced at young Barry. "Now isn't the time for this." Bruce found Superman's location. "We should leave immediately." Chapter 38. Teaming up with Batman. "You found Superman." Hearing this, adult Barry Allen was surprised and delighted. Surprised because he didn't expect old Bruce Wayne to help him and find Superman in such a short time, and delighted because finding Superman meant they could perfectly deal with the big trouble of Zed's invasion. "Don't get too excited yet. Superman was discovered and imprisoned by the Russians a long time ago. No one knows his current condition. We still need to rescue him before discussing anything further." Alex immediately poured cold water on Barry's enthusiasm. After all, it was Supergirl, not Superman, who was imprisoned in the military base. Alex didn't want Barry Allen's newfound hope to turn into despair, so he gave a warning in advance. "Then what are we waiting for? Let's go quickly. The sooner we rescue Superman, the sooner we can discuss how to deal with General Zed's invasion." Adult Barry Allen couldn't wait any longer. "My Batwing only has 2 extra seats." At this moment, Batman chimed in calmly. His meaning was clear, he could only take 2 people for this mission. The 4 of them needed to decide who would go, and he would observe to gather more information about them. Adult Barry Allen didn't notice old Bruce Wayne's intentions. He immediately spoke up, "I'll go. I know Superman, and I can make him trust us more quickly once we rescue him. Besides, I need to redeem myself. If it weren't for me, this mess wouldn't have happened." "No, let the professionals handle it," Alex interrupted Barry. He glanced at Bruce and then spoke calmly. "The timeline of this world is chaotic, so we can't guarantee Superman is the same as in your memory. I understand most multiverse changes, so Pietro and I should go. You 2 stay in the Batcave." "But..." "No buts. You both lack experience. You've lost your superpowers and have no self-defense ability. Young Barry just gained his powers and has no combat experience, he would only be a burden. With Pietro, we don't need another speedster." "I just want to help," adult Barry Allen said, feeling a bit dejected. He wanted to explain, but Alex's reasoning was irrefutable. "If you really want to help, stay here. For you, regaining your speed force is crucial. The Batcave has everything you could possibly need. Prepare yourself and wait for our return." Adult Barry Allen nodded. Alex was right. Without his speed force, he had no combat capability and couldn't return to his own timeline, which he didn't want. Alex and Pietro seemed highly professional, giving Barry the feeling he was looking at another timeline's Batman. Confident and knowledgeable. With them handling the mission, rescuing Superman seemed almost certain. Barry needed to focus on regaining his speed force. As Barry predicted, after Batman suited up and adjusted the Batwing, he quickly took Alex and Pietro to their destination. Under the cover of night, the Batwing arrived undetected over the Russian military base. There are parachutes in the bag. Do you know how to use them? Batman activated the autopilot, stabilizing the Batwing and opening a hatch. The seats descended like landing gear, stopping below the plane. High-altitude winds whipped Alex's face. He knew this was another test from Batman. Though Alex had never skydived, he didn't need to now. Thanks, but we don't need parachutes. Alex patted Pietro's leg, unbuckled his harness, and jumped out. Pietro understood the signal and followed suit, leaping out and diving through the clouds. Old Bruce Wayne was surprised but quickly followed. As Alex plummeted, he adjusted his goggles and pulled out a black umbrella. Seeing the ground approaching, he activated the umbrella, which extended and spun like a helicopter rotor. Alex didn't fully open the umbrella to avoid the tremendous force that would tear his arms apart. He slowed his descent gradually, adjusting the rotor speed until he landed softly. Pietro's method was more straightforward. Nearing the ground, he threw glass marbles and used them as stepping stones to run to the ground. Batman, using his cape as a glider, arrived last, observing Alex and Pietro's unique landing methods. "You've mastered Cobblepot's gear," old Bruce Wayne remarked casually. Alex just smiled, not responding. "It seems we're at our destination. This military base is off the records, making it the likely place for holding an alien," Batman said, scanning the surroundings with his bat drones. "Alex, what's our next move?" Pietro readied his lightning rod, eager to test it. "Don't rush. This is a military stronghold with heavy guards. Infiltration is safer." "Pietro, scout ahead," Alex instructed, donning his earpiece. "No problem." Pietro smiled confidently, donning his earpiece. He turned and paused. "Hey, where did the old man go?" Batman had vanished, leaving no trace in the snow. Alex shook his head, smiling. "Forget him. Disappearing is Batman's thing. Stick to our plan, Pietro. Be careful." Pietro nodded, disappearing into the base as a blur. Chapter 39. The terrifying invasion. The wind and snow continued relentlessly, the blizzard showed no signs of stopping. The large snowflakes mixed with ice shards were carried by the gale, bombarding the outer walls of the research base and creating a cacophony of dense, piercing sounds. Professor Yevgeny tightened his robe and turned to pick up his freshly brewed coffee, paying no attention to the irritating noise. He had been working here for over 10 years and was well accustomed to the environment. The name of the research base had changed several times, and the directors had come and gone. However, as a scientist assigned to the base since its establishment, Yevgeny was intimately familiar with everything here, including the subject they had been studying for over a decade. The subject had crash-landed in a high-tech spaceship within the borders of the nation. Its arrival had caused panic among local residents, but once the military had surrounded and detained it, the incident was suppressed. Everyone involved, except for a few soldiers and scientists, signed confidentiality agreements. The environment on the tundra was harsh, with constant wind and snow. Even Yevgeny, who was used to the climate, sometimes longed to leave and revisit the bustling city life. However, sacrifices were necessary for the pursuit of science. Professor Yevgeny had resolutely given up his job and a comfortable family life to stay here and study alien technology. "Professor, take a break. You have to prepare the report on the alien tomorrow," a young man yawned as he greeted Professor Yevgeny. "Yes, you go rest," Yevgeny replied, but he remained seated. He knew that the analysis of the alien cells had reached a critical stage, and he wouldn't be able to sleep even if he tried. The young man was his most outstanding disciple. In this desolate place, it was thanks to this young man's care that the old professor managed. Yevgeny had even considered marrying his daughter to this considerate disciple. "I'm off to bed. Take care of yourself, Professor," the young man smiled, removed his white coat, and wrapped himself in a blanket before leaving the lab. Watching his disciple's departing figure, Yevgeny smiled. No matter what, this young man was indeed his pride. Perhaps, in the future, he would take over Yevgeny's mantle. After a moment of contemplation, Yevgeny took another sip of hot coffee, driving away the cold from his body. Suddenly, a deafening alarm sounded in the distance. The abrupt noise startled Yevgeny, causing him to drop his coffee, shattering the cup on the floor. But Yevgeny had no time to worry about it. He looked around in confusion before realizing that this was the military's invasion alarm, an evolved form of the air raid alarm, activated only during a terrorist attack. The research base was located within a large military fortress, the only protected facility. If the fortress was attacked, the enemy's target was undoubtedly the research base. Realizing this, Yevgeny quickly left the lab. Before he could take a few steps, the internal alarm of the research base sounded, and the passageway lights turned red, casting an eerie glow. How could this happen? The fortress alarm just sounded, and now the base alarm is going off. Could the enemy have breached the fortress defenses so quickly? Yevgeny was horrified. He returned to his office and retrieved a handgun from the drawer. At that moment, a squad of heavily armed soldiers rushed past the lab. Yevgeny recognized them as the special unit assigned to protect the lab. Their urgency indicated that the enemy had already infiltrated. Yevgeny stopped a soldier and asked, "I'm the head of the laboratory. What's happening? Who is the enemy?" "I don't know. We're still investigating," the soldier replied anxiously. "The commander said the fortress has been breached, and our troops are engaged in combat with the enemy. We're to secure the lab." Boom! Boom! Before the soldier could finish, the entire underground lab shook, accompanied by thunderous sounds. Yevgeny immediately recognized it as the sound of heavy artillery, and it was their own military's heavy weapons. The enemy's firepower must be formidable, forcing the fortress defenders to use their last resort. "That's the highest caliber howitzer. What kind of enemy are we facing?" Yevgeny shouted, bewildered. To warrant such firepower, the enemy had to have at least a division's worth of strength. But how could so many enemies approach the base without being noticed? "I don't know either. Professor, you should evacuate." "I have to carry out my orders," the soldier said, gripping his gun tightly, his face tense. He left to rejoin his unit. Yevgeny knew now wasn't the time for questions. Fighting the enemy was the soldier's duty, not his. His task was to evacuate with the other professors and researchers. Running through the lab, Yevgeny saw chaos everywhere. Soldiers were gathering, heading towards the main entrance of the lab. Some researchers, just woken up, hurriedly wrapped in blankets, followed the majority to evacuate. No one knew what was happening, they only heard the continuous explosions outside the base. The intense, disorderly bombardment reminded Yevgeny of when the military deployed him to weapon testing site. He gripped his gun tightly, seeking a semblance of security from it. But soon, a chilling fear crept into his heart, and Yevgeny felt the temperature drop even lower. Breaking away from the crowd, he ran towards his disciple's dormitory. His only concern now was the safety of his most outstanding disciple, a young man he considered as his own child. The dormitory was on the second floor above ground. As Yevgeny ascended, he saw the soldiers' stern readiness and felt the battle's intensity more directly. During the battle, Yevgeny avoided using the elevator, opting to climb the stairs. Reaching the ground floor of the research base, he instinctively moved towards a window, wanting to see the situation outside. He wanted to know who the invaders were and what enemies the defenders were fighting. But when he peered out of the window, his wrinkled face contorted in terror, and his eyes widened in shock. Zombies. Chapter 40. Eerie arrival. Zombie invasion? How was this possible? Professor Yevgeny's eyes nearly bulged out of their sockets. These bizarre creatures, which only existed in movies and TV shows, were now appearing alive in the real world. But as he witnessed the hellish scene outside, a zombie invasion was the only explanation he could think of. He saw a soldier, whom he had just spoken to, being tackled to the ground by another figure in a military uniform. In the next moment, amidst the soldier's screams, his throat was torn open. Blood spurted out, staining the snow crimson. The Special Forces unit immediately opened fire, turning both the zombie and the injured soldier into a sieve. It seemed the whole world had gone mad. The pungent smell of blood seeped in through the window cracks, enveloping Professor Yevgeny. He covered his mouth, trying not to scream. Biting his hand hard, the sharp pain brought him back to his senses. He looked at the nightmarish scene outside and his brain worked furiously, trying to understand the situation. Could it be an alien technology? Maybe the spaceship carried an alien virus, or perhaps the alien got infected with an Earth virus, causing a mutation and the emergence of a new virus that spread rapidly. His eyes brightened with realization. Professor Yevgeny felt he had grasped the crux of the problem. Everything stems from that alien. Its body harbored a virus that mutated when exposed to Earth's viruses, resulting in a zombie-like pathogen that spread quickly and stealthily, leading to this sudden outbreak. Yes, that's exactly what happened. I must quickly figure out a solution. Professor Yevgeny muttered, licking his dry lips. Soon, he thought of a solution. If it's an alien virus, then the alien's body must have the pathogen. As long as I can analyze that sample, I can develop a cure to stop this disaster. Suddenly, a loud explosion sounded nearby, even closer than before. The specialized glass finally gave way, shattering into pieces as the entire base shook violently. The intense firelight illuminated half the sky and startled Professor Yevgeny. He sensed something and turned around, only to see his most promising student approaching him step by step. No, that wasn't his student. The young man's once handsome face was now ghastly pale, with black veins spider-webbing across his body, making him look monstrous. His mouth hung open, drooling, and his eyes were blood-red, devoid of any humanity. No. Stay back. Professor Yevgeny retreated in terror. Nothing was more despairing than seeing his brightest student turned into a zombie. Professor Fesser. The student opened his mouth, blood streaming out, and despite the professor's threats, he continued to advance. Bang! 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 Professor Yevgeny didn't hesitate, pulling out his gun and firing multiple shots. The clear gunshots were soon drowned out by the sounds of explosions and gunfire outside, attracting no one's attention. His student's body staggered back several steps before collapsing on the stairs. I'm sorry, it's my fault, Professor Yevgeny said, seeing the student raise his hand again. He quickly shot him in the head, knowing that whatever the virus was, destroying the brain would be effective. Because no matter what the virus, controlling the body required the brain. If the brain was destroyed, the body couldn't stand up again. I have something important to do. Shaking his head, Professor Yevgeny suppressed his fear. He couldn't afford to dwell on it because he had just killed his student. Just this thought could drive him insane. But he knew he couldn't afford to think about it now. To stop this disaster, he had to quickly find the alien and analyze its blood to find a vaccine for the zombie virus. He ran back, nearly tripping in his fear. When he returned to the first floor of the lab, he saw the Special Forces soldiers. These professional soldiers took cover behind barricades, continuously firing at the humanoid creatures hidden in the snowstorm, shooting down anything that tried to approach the lab. Don't let any enemies get through. Hold the line and kill anything that comes near, even if it's one of our own. The commander shouted, trying to steady the soldiers' nerves. Despite his trembling voice, his command prevented the soldiers from panicking. Professor Yevgeny turned away and rushed back to the underground lab. He knew he was racing against time. If he couldn't develop a vaccine before the base was breached, everyone in the base would die. But when he reached the underground lab, he found the situation even worse. Fire! There was fire everywhere. The heat forced Professor Yevgeny to stop. He had never experienced such despair. He saw a researcher, engulfed in flames, running wildly before being shot down by another professor. Flames and smoke were everywhere. If the outside was a hellish battlefield, the underground lab had turned into an inferno. No one knew how the fire started, nor how everything had gone so wrong. Everyone was in a frenzy, too panicked to think, just trying to escape the doomed base. Suppressing his fear, Professor Yevgeny grabbed a gas mask to shield himself from the smoke and rushed towards the lowest level of the lab. He knew he probably wouldn't return, but he also knew that if he couldn't secure the pathogen, the world would be destroyed by the zombie virus. With unwavering determination, Professor Yevgeny charged into the inferno, focused on completing his mission. Just as he was about to reach the alien's containment chamber, he suddenly stopped. At the end of the flame-filled corridor stood a dark figure. It was a man wearing a bizarre helmet with a bird-like mask. Professor Yevgeny recognized it as a plague doctor's mask from the Middle Ages. The beak was silver, and the two black lenses showed no emotion. This eerie sight made Professor Yevgeny feel like he had fallen into an ice pit, despite being surrounded by flames. The black figure stood silently in the fire, like a grim reaper. In his hand, he held a peculiar large umbrella. Chapter 41. Finding Superman. What are you? Professor Yevgeny widened his eyes, staring intensely at the figure that resembled the Grim Reaper. A loud shout echoed in the corridor, attracting the attention of the shadowy figure. Slowly, the figure turned around, the long coat swaying in the flames without a trace of being ignited. Someone managed to withstand the fear gas and come all the way here. A hoarse voice sounded, metallic in nature, expressing a hint of surprise from the figure. Unable to contain his fear any longer, the old professor raised his gun and fired several shots at the black-beaked stranger. His speed was impressive, but the figure on the other side was faster. Before he could raise his hand, the shadowy figure was already in action. The beaked stranger swiftly opened an umbrella in front of him, blocking most of his body and intercepting the bullets shot into the air. A muffled puff-puff sound came from the umbrella's surface, and then the umbrella tip suddenly emitted a rapid burst of flames, catching Professor Yevgeny off guard. The next moment, the professor felt a sharp pain in his chest. He froze in place, swaying, a chill spreading from his feet. Breathing became difficult, and he collapsed to the ground. Seeing this, the beaked stranger retracted the umbrella and let out a strange, mocking laugh. It seems I underestimated the people here. I didn't expect to encounter such strong willpower among humans. Professor Yevgeny struggled to breathe, realizing he had lost control of his body. It dawned on him that he must have been hit by the opponent's weapon. As his breathing weakened, a deep drowsiness overcame him. Despite his efforts to stay alert, he couldn't hold on. Just as he was about to close his eyes, he noticed that the flames around him had suddenly gone out. Or rather, they had never existed. There were no flames, the heat, smoke, and burning researchers were all fake. The opponent had used a special gas, causing everyone here to fall into an illusion. So, in this sense, there were no zombies at all, it was all a deception. From start to finish, everyone here was killing each other in their illusions. Even his own disciple. Professor Yevgeny widened his eyes, staring at the black figure, desperately trying to speak but failing to say anything. He was dead, without closure. The old professor's death surprised Alex a bit, but he didn't pay much attention to it. Compared to this world, the deaths of these people had no impact at all. Batman appeared next to Alex at an unknown time, his face covered with a special bat mask. Upon realizing that Alex had infused the fear gas into the umbrella, Batman was prepared. Originally, Batman intended to sneak in first, investigate Superman's exact location, and then act. Additionally, he wanted to see how Alex and Pietro would handle the situation. But to his surprise, once they entered, Pietro quickly explored the entire research base and even destroyed the surveillance room and communication equipment. Alex, on the other hand, acted even more recklessly. He didn't hesitate and directly released the fear gas into the ventilation system. Then, using the propeller on the umbrella, he rapidly rotated it, causing the fear gas to flow into the entire research base through the ventilation ducts. At the same time, the dispersed gas also reached the military fortress outside the research base. In the blink of an eye, everyone affected by the fear gas turned into lunatics. In their eyes, everything they heard and saw changed. Just like the professor who mistook his disciple for a zombie, everyone in the military fortress picked up their weapons and recklessly fired at their allies. In this situation, no one had time to stop and think, everyone had only one thought: to kill others and survive. Thus, a battle royale-like slaughter began. Those with guns used them, those with cannons fired them, and some even used tanks to blast what they perceived as monsters into pieces. The entire military base descended into chaos. By the time Batman noticed, it was too late. The war couldn't be stopped anymore, only by killing everyone could this terrifying feast be halted. To be honest, this was the most astonishing scene Batman had ever witnessed. Even the creator of the fear gas, Scarecrow, had never caused such large-scale destruction. This made Batman slightly dissatisfied with Alex and Pietro. Seeing Batman's hidden expression behind the mask, Alex turned his head, speaking as if explaining and talking to himself. "We are here to rescue Superman from the military base of Russia. This is already a crime, and we don't have time to dwell on these things. If we don't quickly rescue Superman, the world will be destroyed. Besides, there are many guards here. Without this method, we would have suffered casualties." Batman remained silent upon hearing this. No one could discern his expression behind the mask. He took a step forward, approaching Alex, and looked at the massive steel cage. His deep voice slowly echoed, "This is where Superman is being held captive." Seeing Batman take out a device from his belt, seemingly preparing to decipher the password of the cage, Alex quickly spoke up. "No need, Pietro will handle the password. His speed is fast enough to try all the combinations in a very short time." The next moment, as if to confirm Alex's words, Pietro swiftly approached, his hand turning into a blur. Before Batman could respond, the password door turned green, and the impenetrable steel cage slowly opened. Seeing this, Batman silently put away the device and disappeared into the shadows, showing no intention of entering. Clearly, he was leaving it to Alex and the others to handle. Alex just smiled at this. He took the lead and walked in. The cage was massive, a spherical metal object, but the interior was not as spacious as imagined, only about 10 square meters. The interior of the cage was dark, with only a few red emergency lights lit. In the small space, there was only a simple iron bed and a screen. On the bed lay a red and blue outfit haphazardly placed, with an S emblem clearly visible through Alex's bird-like mask. Handing the outfit to Pietro, Alex continued forward. After bypassing the screen, a woman in a white surgical gown entered Alex's view. We found her. Chapter 42. Kara Zor-El. It was said to be a surgical patient gown, but in reality, the woman was only wearing a bedsheet with a hole cut in the middle for her head to go through, and the sides were loosely tied with ropes. This setup was clearly for easier blood sampling and experimentation. The woman had short black hair and looked to be around 20 years old, which should have been the most beautiful age. However, her emaciated state indicated that she was nearing her limit. Alex looked at her fingers, which showed the distinct outline of bones, and sighed softly. He stepped forward, lifted her around the waist, but felt her hardness, like holding a skeleton frame. "Alex, are you sure this is the Superman we're looking for?" Pietro was surprised, staring at the female Superman for a while. Her current condition reminded him of unpleasant memories. "It's her, Kara Zor-El, the last legacy of Krypton," Alex said calmly. Seemingly hearing her name, Kara groggily opened her eyes. Upon seeing Alex's slightly terrifying bird-like mask, she struggled for a moment before fainting again. "Let's not talk about this here. It's not safe. Let's go back and discuss it further," Alex said, carrying Kara. He turned and walked out of the cell. Batman, who was guarding outside, was slightly surprised to see Alex carrying a frail woman. "I thought Barry said Superman was a man." Indeed, in Barry Allen's memory, Superman is indeed a man. But well, in this chaotic multiverse, anything is possible. The three returned the way they came, encountering numerous corpses along the way and hearing the continuous sounds of gunfire outside. It seemed like the soldiers here either couldn't stop or had only one person left alive. However, having experienced another universe full of despair, Alex and Pietro were no longer affected by this. Perhaps these people shouldn't die, or perhaps they should. But who cared anymore? Batman didn't say much either. He had taken many lives himself, as evidenced by the countless villain equipment displayed in his secret room. This Batman of this universe was also a decisive and ruthless character. They returned in the Batplane. The mission was considered a perfect success despite the loud commotion. There were no casualties, and even the old Batman didn't have to intervene. When they arrived back at Wayne Manor, the sun was already rising from the east, heralding a rare clear day in Gotham City. Entering the Batcave, Alex and his group disembarked from the Batplane. Barry Allen Jr. and the other Barry Allen had been eagerly waiting for some time. As soon as they saw everyone return, Barry Allen Jr. rushed forward. "I've found a way to restore my speed. If we can simulate a natural lightning strike and then have the experimental serum around me, recreating the scene where I gained my powers, maybe I can regain my superpowers." As Barry spoke, he noticed Kara Zor-El in Alex's arms, and he froze in place. You succeeded? Weren't we supposed to save Superman? Who is this girl?" "She is the Superman of this world, Barry. Do you now understand the mess you've caused?" Alex replied, scanning the area before continuing. "Since you're confident in regaining your speed, let's act quickly. I believe everything you need is in the Batcave. For Bruce Wayne, creating artificial rain won't be difficult. Pietro, help out. I'll take this Kryptonian girl to bathe in sunlight." With that said, Alex walked towards the exit of the Batcave. Surprisingly, everyone present had no objections to Alex's command. Apart from the obedient Pietro, even the old Batman didn't refuse. Or rather, Batman at this moment had recognized the threat of this disaster. At the same time, he also believed that these few people were indeed prepared to save the world. After Alex left, everyone immediately took action. Bruce Wayne worked on materials for artificial rain and also planned to create a lightning-attracting bat kite. Pietro and Barry Allen Jr. rushed out to various labs to collect the chemicals they needed. Everything proceeded in an orderly manner. On the other side, Alex and Kara arrived at the rooftop of Wayne Manor. Here, Kara could absorb the radiation from the yellow sun better. To assist her, Alex took off his trench coat and laid it down for Kara to lie on. The black coat absorbed sunlight efficiently, speeding up Kara's recovery. In fact, it worked. With the sun's rays shining, Kara's body, which had clear rib outlines moments ago, reacted as if it were an inflating balloon. Her body slowly returned to its normal appearance, and her energy levels surged. Alex took off his mask and stepped back, leaving a safe distance. He wasn't worried about anything else but the possibility of Kara, enhanced by the sunlight, instinctively resisting when she woke up. His small frame couldn't withstand a punch from a sun-enhanced Kryptonian. Kara's eyelids twitched slightly, then she suddenly floated up, and slowly stood up without any assistance. It's frightening how quickly a biosphere can be generated in such a short time. Kryptonian's physiology is indeed formidable. Alex couldn't help but be amazed. Even a newly freed Kara was so powerful, showing how formidable General Zod and his underlings were. Sensing Alex's presence, Kara turned her head and looked in his direction. I remember you. You're the one who rescued me from that place. Kara's voice was calm, but Alex could sense a hint of joy and a brewing anger, understandable for anyone who had been tested on for over a decade, brewing endless resentment. It's good that you remember. I was worried you'd punch me, Alex said with a slight smile, letting go of the umbrella he had been tightly holding onto. Kara gazed quietly at Alex, seeming to recall something. Then, she spoke, if I'm not mistaken, you called my name before. Who are you exactly? Let's get acquainted. I'm Alex, from another universe, Alex introduced himself, stepping forward and extending his hand. This world is on the brink of destruction by General Zod. To save it, we need your power. Chapter 43. Comfort. Facing Alex's outstretched hand, Kara didn't move for a moment. However, she suddenly closed her eyes, and a high-frequency sound that ordinary people couldn't catch drilled into her ears, causing her a severe headache. Don't worry, this is a normal phenomenon. I need you to calm down, focus on me, and listen carefully to my words. Don't let other sounds distract you. Alex quickly understood Kara's reaction. She had just been strengthened by the yellow sun and hadn't adapted yet. Guided by Alex, Kara chose to believe his explanation. Soon, the chaotic sounds gradually disappeared, and she began to feel better. Looking up at Alex, Kara's gaze was filled with confusion. Why do you seem to know me so well? What's going on? Why is this planet so strange? Kara squinted slightly and suddenly realized that she seemed to see Alex's skeleton. Feeling scrutinized by this gaze, Alex's cautious heart suddenly sensed something strange. It was a very magical feeling, as if he was being seen through by the other person, as if he were not wearing clothes and was completely exposed to the other's scrutiny. Alex also understood that the other party had unlocked the X-ray vision incidentally. Suppressing his discomfort, Alex spoke up. The strangeness isn't with this planet but with the sun. You must be experiencing the yellow sun's radiation for the first time. This radiation can greatly enhance your body, making you like an invulnerable Superman, while also amplifying your senses to an unimaginable intensity. Listening quietly to Alex's explanation, Kara's floating body slowly descended to the ground on the rooftop. She was now full of curiosity about this human in front of her. I know you have many questions in your mind. Feel free to ask. As long as I know, I can tell you. This is also to show you my sincerity and gain your trust. Alex shrugged and said calmly. Who are you? How do you know so much about me? Kara immediately asked the most pressing question in her mind. I already introduced myself earlier. I'm Alex, from another universe. Strictly speaking, I and my colleagues are searching for a universe suitable for me to live in. You can also understand it as me being a wanderer among multiple universes. Alex chuckled lightly, seemingly self-deprecating about his experiences, then continued, as for why I know so much about you, that's because I understand a lot about multiple universes, including you and your cousin. You know my cousin? Kara suddenly became excited, interrupting Alex's words, and anxiously asked, do you know where he is now? Has he also been captured by these humans? If there's anyone Kara is most worried about in this world, it's undoubtedly her cousin, Kal-El. However, in other universes, Kal-El has another name more well known. Clark Kent, also known as Superman. Kara is significantly older than Karl. When they left Krypton on a spaceship, Karl was still a baby in swaddling clothes. This is also what worries Kara the most. He's just a baby. If her cousin is captured and studied by humans, Kara can't imagine what might happen. Seeing Kara's urgency, Alex didn't beat around the bush, speaking seriously. Kara, I know you're anxious, but you'd better calm down. What I'm about to say, you might not be able to accept for a while. Kara understood immediately that her cousin probably met with an accident. She clenched her fists slowly, a surge of energy bursting out. Alex, who was closest, stepped back 2 steps. He knew Kara was suppressing her anger. It was a terrifying emotion like a tsunami. Kara's eyes turned red at a visible speed, immense energy filling them, as if they were about to erupt in destructive chaos. But Kara ultimately forced herself to calm down, slowly uttering a word through clenched teeth. Speak. Seeing this, Alex sighed. Don't misunderstand. Your cousin's accident has nothing to do with Earth. He died at the hands of General Zayed. I believe you should remember this Kryptonian general. General Zayed? The Kryptonian rebel? How is that possible? He was clearly exiled to the Phantom Zone. Kara immediately retorted, her eyes full of disbelief. Indeed, but you should know that it was because of this exile that he survived Krypton's destruction. Subsequently, he intercepted your cousin's spaceship with his remaining forces and spent decades creating the Genesis engine to locate your position. At this point, Alex looked deeply at Kara and continued in a calm tone. His goal was to find the central codex that records Kryptonian genes to rebuild Kryptonian civilization. He thought that codex was in your cousin's body, so he tried to extract it, but... Alex didn't continue his words. In fact, there was no need to. Kara clearly understood the situation. She couldn't imagine that her cousin's interstellar journey would end before it even began, and that the one who killed him was her fellow Kryptonian. Kara's lips trembled slightly. She breathed heavily, trying to calm her emotions and angry heart, then she clung to the last shred of hope and said again, "Why should I trust you? You could be lying to me. But you know in your heart that I'm not lying to you because your eyes and ears can clearly perceive my heartbeat, right? Also, Zed has already come to Earth. His spaceship is hovering over Australia. If you don't believe me, you can go ask him." Finishing his words, Alex looked at Kara, who was eager to try, and hurriedly continued, "Wait, you're not really planning to go ask him in person, are you? His purpose in coming to Earth is to find you. Are you planning to go to your death? If what you say is true, then I will avenge my brother." Kara roared. "It's easier said than done. How do you plan to avenge him? You're both Kryptonians, both enhanced by the yellow sun, and it's clear that he was enhanced earlier than you. I admit you're powerful now, but if you want to kill him, that's simply impossible." With that, silence fell upon the rooftop. Kara's expression turned fierce, her inner anger and unwillingness finally bursting out into endless grievances. As a survivor of Krypton, she had originally planned to take her brother to a new world to live, without needing to do much. Even if they just grew up peacefully, got married, and had children, that would have been fine. But she never expected that her brother had already fallen victim to violence. At the same time, she was captured by the military as soon as she arrived on this planet and had been detained until now. Finally rescued, she couldn't even avenge her brother. During the time of her captivity, it was her concern for her cousin's safety that kept Kara going. This immense pain directly crushed Kara's fragile heart. She sat paralyzed on the rooftop, burying her head between her legs, letting out low sobs. Seeing Kara like this, Alex hesitated for a moment, then walked up and gently patted Kara's head. "Don't worry, I will help you." Chapter 44. Charging the time pad. Comforting the sobbing Kara, Alex's mind was continuously pondering how to resolve this crisis. Although he had a plan in mind, he wasn't sure if it would succeed, and he didn't dare to guarantee it. After a while, Kara's emotions stabilized a bit. This was the first time she had cried openly in front of someone, so she felt a bit embarrassed. She kept her head down, not letting Alex see her face. "Do you have a solution?" After a long silence, Kara broke the calm. Hearing this, Alex sighed softly. He looked at the rising sun, its morning rays pouring down on the earth, giving a warm feeling on his face. Then he smiled and said, "There's always a way. But before that, I need you to trust me, okay?" Kara didn't respond, which Alex took as an agreement to his words. With a slight smile, Alex stood up and said, "Stay here and soak up some sun. It's good for your health." Your clothes are here, you can change later. I need to make some preparations downstairs. If you feel better, you can come down and find me. Everyone here is on our side and can be trusted. After saying that, Alex opened the door to the rooftop and went back inside the house. He still had one crucial thing to do. At the edge of the rooftop, leaning against the railing, Kara noticed that Alex had left. She slowly raised her head, silently wiped the tears from her face. Honestly, she didn't know what to do next or what the meaning of her continued existence was. Her only belief all along had been to raise her younger cousin, but now that he was gone, Kara felt a chilling sense of relief for a moment, a vague feeling of emptiness. It was as if she were a floating weed, drifting with the wind, never having a place to rely on. She couldn't find the meaning to continue living. Everything around her fell into silence, even the chirping of birds faded. Despite the sunlight, Kara couldn't feel any warmth. Leaning against the railing, she stared blankly at the sky, letting out a faint sigh. On the other side, back in the Batcave, Alex marveled at how fast these guys worked. In just a short time, the old Batman, with Barry Allen's help, had assembled a chair made of steel, albeit looking strange, reminiscent of an electric chair used for execution. Apart from that, Batman was also figuring out how to induce artificial rainfall, which required the assistance of the Batwing. Fortunately, Gotham City often had rainy weather, making artificial rainfall much easier. Next to him, Barry Allen was cooperating to assemble a giant bat kite. Soon, they would need to fly this thing into the sky and release small charges to attract lightning, simulating a lightning strike. Pietro and the younger Barry Allen had returned with all the experimental chemicals. Once the bat kite was ready and Batman did the final adjustments, they could start. Seeing this, Alex couldn't help but nod in approval. Looking at these superheroes' initiative, Alex knew that anyone not envious would be lying. They were all tech-savvy, especially Batman, not to mention the Flash's understanding of physics and chemistry. Turning his head, Alex looked at himself. Apart from memories of the multiverse plot, he didn't have much to offer. Not dwelling on these thoughts, Alex regained his focus and waved to the younger Barry Allen, who was chatting with Pietro. Seeing Alex's gesture, Barry Allen Jr. was surprised but quickly came over, asking excitedly, "What's up, Alex? Do you need something from me?" Barry had been causing trouble since gaining his powers, and Barry Allen Sr. seemed to dislike him, always wearing a cold expression. Even Batman treated him like he was invisible, not bothering with him. Only Alex and Pietro would talk to him properly, which made Barry Jr. appreciate them even more. Handing the time controller to Barry, Alex said, "It's not a big deal. My device ran out of power, but ordinary energy sources can't recharge it. So, I need your superspeed lightning to help me charge this little thing." The time pad had its energy conversion, meaning any energy could charge it, but the speed of charging varied based on the energy's strength. The best energy sources would be nuclear or rocket engines, maybe even Iron Man's arc reactor or Green Lantern's lantern. Alex had tried using Zeus's lightning before but quickly gave up. Even if all the stored electricity in that staff were used, it couldn't charge the time pad by even 1%. It was a time-consuming and laborious task. So, Alex turned to the Flash. Superspeed was a miraculous power, carrying terrifying energy. Otherwise, speedsters wouldn't be able to travel through time. In many major events, except for sacrificial moments, when had the Flash not become a hamster on a treadmill, providing powerful energy to the villains? This showed how coveted the energy within the Flash's superspeed was. "What's this thing? Looks weird. Is it a gaming device?" Barry Jr. took the time controller, curious but unable to figure out its origin after playing with it for a while. "You don't need to worry about what it does. Just know it's important to me. So, Barry, I'm counting on you." "No problem, consider it done." Barry Jr. excitedly patted his chest. Being needed felt great, and Barry Jr. was happy to help. But then he hesitated, blinking. How do I charge this thing?" Thinking for a moment, Alex rubbed his chin and said, "If I'm not mistaken, you could take it outside and run a few laps with it." Chapter 45. Data Loss. Following Alex's advice, little Barry Allen took the time pad and dashed out, starting to run at superluminal speeds around the entire Wayne Manor. The enormous energy erupted instantly, causing a huge ring of lightning visible even to the naked eye, catching the attention of old Batman and Big Barry Allen. Even Kara on the rooftop glanced over with curiosity. However, they only took a quick glance before returning to their tasks. Though they didn't know what this little troublemaker was up to, since it was Alex's suggestion, there must be a good reason for it. Besides, time was of the essence, and getting Big Barry Allen back to full speed was crucial. Fortunately, Wayne Manor was secluded, and the surrounding area was mostly Wayne family private property, so the commotion caused by Little Flash didn't attract other people's attention. After about 5 or 6 minutes, little Barry Allen returned to Alex, but he was in a bad state. He looked pale, covered in sweat, and basically collapsed into a chair, panting heavily. He looked like he had just finished running a marathon. Alex was surprised that simply charging the device had exhausted Little Flash to this extent. "Are you okay?" Alex was taken aback by little Barry's condition and didn't immediately take back the time pad. "I'm okay, I am just really tired," little Barry gasped for air, looking at Alex with a mix of exhaustion and curiosity. "What is this thing for, anyway? When I was running, it felt like everything around me was being sucked in by this thing. It even seemed to absorb my stamina. Running with this thing is like carrying a terrifying burden." After catching his breath, little Barry couldn't help but complain about the peculiarities of the device and tossed it back to Alex. From his expression, it seemed he never wanted to touch the thing again. Catching the time pad, Alex tapped on the screen, and a fingerprint unlocking mechanism appeared for the first time on the device, aside from Time Mistress interface. Licking his lips, Alex placed his thumb on the screen. Suddenly, a sharp pain shot through his thumb, as if it had been caught in a door and electrified at the same time. It was a tearing sensation mixed with a tingling numbness, causing Alex to instinctively retract his finger. In the next moment, Alex felt a chill throughout his body as the surroundings underwent a drastic change. Alex found himself in a starry sky, feeling like he was standing on something solid yet not feeling the ground beneath his feet. He was suspended in this cosmic realm. Alex stared in astonishment at the scene before him, completely dumbfounded. In his field of vision, the starry sky was split by an enormous and incomprehensible rift, dividing the universe into 2 parts. Alex found himself in a normal universe where stars twinkled peacefully, but on the other side, a perpetual night covered countless worlds. The dark, torn rift emitted a terrifying aura that was unbearable to look at directly. It seemed to cut off all life force, any world it touched was torn apart and plunged into oblivion. The terror of the energy here was beyond Alex's imagination. No known energy source could compare. The worlds covered by the dark canopy had turned into dead stars, although far away, Alex could sense the rotting toxins and the black-green magma, crackling with fissures. The land was barren, devoid of any life, only offering an atmosphere of suffocation. Amidst the shattered worlds, a gigantic creature lay between darkness and light, although strictly speaking, it was not something that could be called a living being. More than an object, it resembled a celestial body formed by the convergence of countless stars, a giant with humanoid contours. Its features were so distorted that they were impossible to discern. Inside its body, infinite starlight flowed, giving an eerie sensation. However, its surface was covered with wriggling shadows, like shadowy maggots. They continuously twisted and devoured the starlight giant's body, trying to penetrate its core and corrupt it. Alex stared blankly at everything before him. Though the scene made him dizzy and nauseous, he couldn't tear his eyes away from this unimaginable spectacle. "Don't look anymore, we don't have the ability to help it." As Alex was staring at the distant lights and shadows, a voice suddenly rang in his ear. Startled, Alex turned to look, his expression changing rapidly. As his gaze shifted, an orange-yellow clock appeared in Alex's field of view, with human features on its surface, including limbs. Alex immediately recognized the device as the Time Mistress, created by the Time Variance Authority. However, this time she wasn't on the Time Controller, she had manifested in the real world. "What do you mean we don't have the ability to help it? Do you know that Starlight Giant?" Alex opened his mouth, full of questions. "Data loss. System file error." The Time Mistress quickly responded, but her words only deepened Alex's frown. "What's going on? Did something happen to the Time Variance Authority? What's happening here?" Alex asked urgently, but the Time Mistress's response remained cold and emotionless. Data loss. System file error. Chapter 46. The user of the new data archive. Alex, who was persistent, asked several times again. However, no matter what Alex asked, Miss Minutes remained emotionless. Even when Alex cursed at her, there was no other response. It was as if Alex had experienced auditory hallucinations, but Alex could guarantee 100% that he had indeed heard Miss Minutes' expression of deep regret and helplessness just now. The tone was something Alex would probably never forget. After staring at Miss Minutes for a long time, Alex's initially apprehensive mood gradually calmed down. Facing such a shocking scene, anyone would feel infinite fear. But luckily, Alex wasn't alone this time. Although Miss Minutes wasn't human, she could still be considered a companion. This reassured Alex and he began to carefully consider his current situation. To be honest, Alex had experienced a similar scene of a starry sky once before, when he and Pietro used the time controller to travel. However, back then, the starry sky was more vibrant and emitted a natural aura, giving a sense of thriving tranquility. But where Alex was now was clearly not a normal dimension. Although he had only been here for a short time, Alex felt that everything around him was precarious, as if it could be enveloped by that canopy at any moment. Fortunately, while everything here looked real, Alex could confirm that it was only a virtual image, projected into his mind like a screen. If it weren't for this, faced with such a terrifying scene and the frightening pollution, the other party would have definitely attempted cognitive corruption or body decay upon observing Alex to achieve its purpose. But after watching for so long, nothing happened. The other party didn't even notice Alex, the observer. This meant that this wasn't real, or rather, it was just one of the image data saved inside the time controller. And the one who brought Alex here was undoubtedly the time controller. Alex didn't know what had happened to the Time Variance Authority, but he was sure that this Time Variance Authority was not the one from the American TV series he remembered, established by someone named Kong. Because no matter how powerful Kong was, his influence on the multiverse couldn't extend to DC's multiverse, let alone observe such a horrifying scene. At this moment, Alex was extremely curious about the origin of this scene. He wanted to know who could be in such a spectacular place, observing and recording such amazing images. But before that, Alex focused all his attention on the expressionless Miss Minutes. She was still mechanically speaking. Data loss. System file error. After thinking for a moment, Alex interrupted her. If the system file is in error, then let's create a new one. This time, as Alex's voice fell, Miss Minutes finally stopped repeating her cold words and showed a hint of humanity. Her eyes moved slowly and locked onto Alex. Do you want to create a new data file? Alex narrowed his eyes slightly and nodded in response. Yes. Creating new data file. Data file creation successful. Updating system space. Residual data information detected. Data has been damaged and is unusable. Attempting recovery. Recovery failed. Detecting backup data. Updating. Backup data cannot be retrieved due to lack of permissions. Would you like to clear damaged data? No, do not clear, Alex immediately refused. Though he didn't know what the damaged and unretrievable data was, deleting it would mean losing everything, which Alex didn't want. Retaining and caching original data. Data file update complete. System rebooting. Ding. With a crisp sound, Miss Minutes emitted a faint ticking sound, and at the same time, her expression immediately became more animated. She smiled at Alex and leaned in a bit, asking affectionately, "Hello, I am the Assistant Steward Miss Minutes of the Time Variance Authority. Would you like to keep my original name or give me a new one?" Alex's mouth slightly opened, and internally, he wasn't as calm as he appeared on the surface. Though he didn't know exactly what had happened, from the current situation, this Miss Minutes might have become his exclusive item and was now linked to him. Seeing this, Alex couldn't help but laugh silently. So, the time traveler finally had a system, huh? And what a peculiar system it was. Keep your original name, Miss Minutes. Please introduce me to the environment I am currently in. Alright. This appears to be an image retained from the previous data archive. There are no similar records in the system, perhaps the data has been damaged or rendered unusable, and I cannot detect where we are currently located. Can I leave here? Alex asked again. Anytime, Master. Hearing this, Alex finally breathed a sigh of relief. It was best to leave, but this place wasn't bad either. At least there was no one else to interrupt Alex's communication with Miss Minutes here. So, Alex wasn't in a hurry to leave. After all, the topics to be discussed next were not simple. If others heard these secrets, it could lead to accidents. Alex wasn't worried about Pietro knowing these insider details, but there was still old Batman outside, not to mention the Kryptonian who could monitor the entire world. Alex didn't dare to be too outspoken. Don't call me master, just call me by my name. I'm Alex. All right. Would you like to enter a new identity? Miss Minutes tilted her head, or rather her body, and asked. New identity? What identity do I have now? Alex was curious. You are currently the user of the data archive, the owner of the time controller, and also my master, possessing the highest authority over this data archive. Miss Minutes' tone even contained a hint of admiration. I see. Alex nodded silently, rubbing his chin with his hand. No wonder I couldn't access the previous data or the data stored in the backup. I guess the previous user set permissions that prevent me from viewing them. But it's all right, as long as they're not deleted, I'll figure it out someday. But for now, Alex asked the question he most wanted to know. How much charge did you get from Little Barry Allen? Chapter 47. Horrifying Thoughts. How much charge did Little Barry Allen give you from running for so long? Upon hearing Alex's question, Miss Minutes blinked and immediately replied, according to the detection, the current charge is 63%, unlocking most of the function's usage permissions. 63, hey? How is this charge calculated? And how does it usually get consumed? Under normal circumstances, the charge consumption is negligible, even supplying my existence won't have a significant impact, because strictly speaking, the primary function of the time pad is time travel, and other functions are secondary, with minimal charge consumption. Miss Minutes turned around, showcasing her body, then continued, as for charge calculation, it's based on energy. 1% of charge is approximately equivalent to the total energy of a small-scale star explosion. However, different energies have varying effects on charge replenishment, with some mystical energies providing a greater boost. Listening to this, Alex nodded thoughtfully. It seemed that he would have to test different energy conversions for charge replenishment in the future. At the same time, Alex was somewhat conflicted. Despite Little Barry Allen getting exhausted from his super speed run, the 63% charge seemed sufficient at first glance. However, Alex couldn't just treat Little Flash as a charging device. 63% charge was far from as abundant as Alex had imagined. The time pad was Alex's biggest trump card, and naturally, he couldn't give up on it. To freely use it, Alex needed to find a way to recharge it for prolonged use. Currently, the best way to quickly gather vast amounts of supernatural energy for recharging was through the Flash's speed. However, the speed force wasn't stable, existing only in the DC multiverse. If the Flash left this multiverse, he would instantly lose his speed force, becoming an ordinary person. In other words, if Alex wanted to utilize this machine, he had to reserve a portion of the charge. When it was running low, he had to quickly find the Flash for recharging to ensure long-term use of the time pad. However, Alex knew that this was an impossible task. Before understanding the connections between multiverses, Alex didn't want to put all his eggs in one basket. Apart from the speed force, Alex also needed to find other sources of energy for recharging, preferably a portable charging device. Setting aside the charge issue, what intrigued Alex the most about the time pad was its ability to freely traverse timelines and even multiverses. Miss Minutes, can you tell me more about the specific functions of the time pad? If I recall correctly, traversing multiverses isn't something a small machine like this can do. According to the production records, this time pad has perfect functionality for traversing sacred timelines and various temporal branches, including dimensional traversal, time travel, and space travel. Miss Minutes excitedly introduced, seeming particularly happy to assist Alex. Dimensional traversal refers to traversing different dimensions within specific timelines, time travel refers to freely traversing different time periods within timelines, and space travel refers to freely traversing different multiverses formed by timeline branches. Sacred timelines? Timeline branches. Listening to Miss Minutes' explanation, Alex not only didn't resolve his doubts but instead, became even more confused. Seriously, with Batman, the Flash, and Supergirl standing outside, are you telling me this is Marvel's sacred timeline? In other words, has the DC multiverse become part of the Marvel multiverse? Looking at Miss Minutes' smiling face, Alex deeply doubted the credibility of this situation. Do you think we're still in the old place? Can you tell me which universe I'm in now? Respected Lord Alex, we are indeed within the sacred timeline created by the Timekeepers, Miss Minutes said with a big smile. Pausing for a moment, Alex's face gradually became serious. Say that again. Respected Lord Alex, we are indeed within the sacred timeline created by the timekeepers. Wait a minute. Who are these timekeepers you're talking about? Alex didn't answer but instead asked another question, interrupting her words. Miss Minutes seemed puzzled. Who are the timekeepers? The timekeepers are the timekeepers. Seeing Miss Minutes' expression, Alex frowned. It seemed that things were completely different from what he had thought, even worse than he had imagined. Thinking about this, Alex asked again. No, everything can be described. The timekeepers you mentioned should have an appearance. Let me guess, those timekeepers, could they be 3 humanoid creatures that look like lizards? Yes, they even wear yellow robes. Miss Minutes said proudly. Contrary to Miss Minutes' happy expression, Alex's heart sank instantly. This is a big problem. This time pad is actually created by the TVA in my memory, which is the time variance authority that controls the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. But this simply doesn't make sense. The so-called time variance authority controls a timeline that's just a variation created by Kong the Conqueror. How could they possibly influence the Marvel comic universe? Moreover, Alex is currently in the DC multiverse, far beyond their reach. Do you know Loki? Alex asked. There are no records of this name in the system. Would you like to create a special document for it? Do you know Kong? Alex didn't answer but instead asked after thinking for a moment. There are no records of this name in the system. Would you like to create a special document for it? The repeated response came from Miss Minutes' mouth again. The 2 answers made Alex anxious. He originally wanted to dispel some doubts through Miss Minutes, but unexpectedly, this Miss Minutes made Alex even more doubtful and even began to feel a sense of fear and unease about the unknown. In fact, the whole thing was fishy from the start. The Marvel universe Alex initially crossed into was obviously a universe on the brink of destruction, completely unknown to anyone, either self-generated or from a Marvel comic that Alex hadn't seen. But no matter the possibility, the time pad appearing in that universe and being collected by President X and placed in a secret room was already a terrifying thought. Moreover, Alex was actually able to directly traverse from the Marvel universe to the DC universe through this machine, which made Alex doubt the identity of the creator of this machine or the previous owner even more. Chapter 48. Anchor points between multiverses. Although he wasn't entirely sure what had happened, Alex suspected that the time pad had clearly been modified by some powerful entity. Otherwise, it didn't make sense why it could travel freely between different multiverses. Moreover, Pietro had previously mentioned seeing a yellow cookie that only laughed when he saw the time pad. If his guess was correct, the yellow cookie Pietro mentioned was the Miss Minutes in front of him. This meant that at that time, the time pad was in an active state. Even when Alex went to the secret chamber of President X and picked up the time pad, the machine was still active, and it even had enough power left for one macroscopic universe traversal. So, why didn't President X use the Miss Minutes to traverse when he first obtained the machine? Perhaps he didn't know the machine's function, but the Miss Minutes did. Unless, there was some unknown secret about the Miss Minutes at that time. As for the previous user of this time pad being killed by President X and the device becoming his trophy, Alex felt that was impossible. Firstly, considering the power required to modify a time pad, the entity involved would have to be extraordinarily strong. Even if the entity died at the hands of President X, he would have certainly acquired their memory. In such a case, President X would undoubtedly know how to use the machine. Moreover, when probing Alex's memory, President X was deeply engrossed and unable to extricate himself. This indicated that President X had not experienced scenarios beyond his comprehension. Therefore, considering all this, the identity of the previous owner of the time pad and why it appeared in that universe remained 2 significant mysteries weighing on Alex. Currently, Alex had no means to investigate such high-level secrets. He could only focus on the pressing matters at hand. After a moment of silence, Alex asked, Miss Minutes, I want to know, how does the traversal function work? Can I traverse freely now? Of course you can. Our archive is connected to the mainframe observing the sacred timeline. Regardless of how many branches the sacred timeline has, we can traverse to any time node among them. Miss Minutes proudly said, conjuring an electronic screen out of thin air. The screen displayed the archive of the sacred timeline and its branches. But the next moment, Miss Minutes' smile froze. Where did the sacred timeline go? Why did all the time branches in the archive disappear? Wait, there's still one valid record left, which seems to be from the previous archival data. Previous archival data. Alex was taken aback. Yes. Miss Minutes nodded. It should be an anchor point left when you traversed the previous time branch, so it's still in the current archive. Hearing this, Alex understood. This record should be the universe where Pietro was, the parallel universe on the brink of destruction he had directly traversed to. Can I traverse to that world? Of course, all recorded time branches have anchor points supporting traversal. You can traverse by consuming 1% of the power. Miss Minutes nodded, or rather, her whole body moved. That means the universe I'm currently in is also recorded and has an anchor point for traversal. Alex asked excitedly. Yes, the anchor point is confirmed, and information is being uploaded. The data from both time branches are saved in the archive, allowing you to traverse freely. Alex thought of another point. The time pad could directly locate Asgard, so he quickly asked, so according to you, I can traverse to any location in that universe, not just Earth. The previous time branch allowed that, but not this universe. The archive needs time to record a new time branch without the mainframe's observation. This process requires several months and consumes a lot of power. Miss Minutes blinked and asked, do you want to record the current universe? It will consume about 43% of the power and take 66 days to parse. No, thank you. Alex quickly refused. He didn't have that much time to spend. Suddenly, an idea flashed in Alex's mind, but when he tried to delve into it, it vanished, leaving him frustrated that he might have overlooked something crucial. However, Alex didn't dwell on it too much and asked, since there's a complete record of that universe, can you find the location of Asgard in that universe for me? Okay, please wait a moment. Miss Minutes immediately began her task, quickly pulling data from the archive and starting the search. Judging by her actions, Alex guessed she was starting from the Big Bang. Unsure how long it would take, Alex was about to ask her to stop when Miss Minutes suddenly stopped and provided an answer. According to the detection, no record of a civilization named Asgard exists in that time branch. How is that possible? Alex was shocked. He had assumed Asgard might have been destroyed by Ragnarok before appearing on Earth, but Miss Minutes' record left him bewildered. What about the Kree home world? Alex asked. Please wait. This time, Miss Minutes responded quickly. Detected the Kree civilization and its star system. Please select the time node for traversal. Never mind. Alex waved it off, realizing his earlier guess was correct. That universe lacked any supernatural elements. It had no heaven or hell, and not even extraterrestrial gods. However, it wasn't a complete loss. Advanced technology could still provide formidable power. While magical artifacts were out of reach, acquiring alien technology was possible. But before that, Alex had another thought. Miss Minutes, scan for the stars in that universe. What category of stars? Alex's eyes gleamed with a cold light as he sneered. Red suns. Chapter 49. The Great Record. Red sun was merely a descriptive term. In Alex's memory, the red sun existed on Superman's home planet, Krypton. It was a massive star emitting a red glow, under which the Kryptonians' physique was almost indistinguishable from that of normal humans. So why did Kryptonians turn into invulnerable beings with laser vision and the ability to awaken a biological field when they came to Earth? This has to do with the Kryptonians' physiology. Kryptonians are a race born with superpowers, evident from the legend of Kryptonian god Ra. However, unlike other superhumans, Kryptonian superpowers evolve based on stellar radiation. In other words, when exposed to the radiation of a highly energetic star, this radiation is absorbed by their bodies and immediately converted into a powerful energy source, which is then supplied to the superpowers encoded in their genes, activating the inherent abilities. Sadly, the star in the Kryptonian solar system was a red sun, a star nearing the end of its life. Whether it was a red giant or a red supergiant, it was clear that it had little energy left. And a sun nearing the end of its life couldn't provide energy to the people of Krypton. Thus, under the radiation of the red sun, the entire Krypton, including its people, became a planet of beings with no superpowers. Additionally, Krypton itself, after absorbing the radiation for so long, also carried some of the red sun's radiation. So, after Krypton's destruction, the scattered kryptonite was essentially material carrying the red sun's radiation. On the other hand, in the solar system where Earth is located, the sun is a star of the yellow dwarf category. Although it had existed for a long time, compared to other stars, this yellow sun was in its prime, emitting a tremendous amount of energy. Unlike Earth's creatures, who have been exposed to this energy from the start, Kryptonians, upon arriving here, would have their body's superpower genes instantly activated by the abundant radiation, awakening their inherent powers sequentially. This is why Kryptonians become supermen on Earth. As for their fear of kryptonite, it's simply because they can't withstand the red sun's radiation, which temporarily overrides the yellow sun's radiation, returning their enhanced bodies to a powerless state. Alex remembered that Superman had resisted kryptonite several times in the comics. While this is related to Superman's origin and the god Ra, it also shows that the red sun is just a method to counter Kryptonians, not a surefire weapon. To most, the red and yellow suns are switches for Superman's powers. But Alex knew that other stars, like blue suns, neutron stars, and even quasars, carrying massive amounts of radiation, could greatly enhance Kryptonians, making them almost invincible. However, this was mainly in some comic descriptions. Alex wasn't sure if these could be used to judge Kryptonians in reality, as their physique varied across different universes. For example, some Kryptonians might lose their powers under the yellow sun. This uncertainty worried Alex because he couldn't guarantee all his judgments were correct. The best way to solve his current problem was to try as much as possible firsthand. Detected 32,597 stars matching your description of Red Sunday. Would you like me to conduct a more detailed scan? Miss Minutes took a long time but delivered satisfactory results. Continue refining the search. I need a planet under red sun radiation with similar mass, gravity, climate, temperature, and ecology to Earth, Alex quickly said. Despite movies depicting planets as similar, each was unique. As an ordinary human, Alex would die if he ventured to an unknown planet. Even slightly different ecosystems could make the air there toxic for him. Waiting quietly, Alex expected this scan to take even longer, but within minutes, Miss Minutes provided several dozen options. This showcased the time pad's power. It could let Alex travel to any time point from a universe's beginning. There were numerous planets matching Alex's criteria in that immense span of time. If Alex hadn't specified the planets to be closest to Earth, Miss Minutes could have listed hundreds more suitable ones. Finally, Alex chose a planet where land covered 2/3 of the surface, simply because its appearance was pleasing. Perfect as General's its tomb. Would you like to mark the target node for spatial transition? Yes. Alex nodded. Miss Minutes asked again, would you like to name it? Name it. Alex paused. Looking at the vast database, he realized he should name and categorize them for easier future reference. After some thought, Alex said, name the previous universe Ruins universe and the detected target nodes its tomb. Then, remembering something else, Alex continued, also, change the code for my current universe to a Flashpoint 1 universe, and record my current time node as Genesis Engine. Understood. Ruins universe and Flashpoint 1 universe are named. All records are being integrated. Would you like to perform spatial transition now? Miss Minutes sounded a bit eager. Alex shook his head. Not yet. First, you need to send me back. Understood. As Miss Minutes finished speaking, Alex felt a sudden sense of weightlessness. He only had time to glance back at the still polluted and corroded star giant, as if engraving it in his memory. The next moment, Alex's body shuddered, and the surroundings reverted to the Batcave. Chapter 50. Test. Alex, what's wrong? While Alex was in a daze, Pietro couldn't help but ask. Hey? I'm fine, why do you ask? Alex responded nonchalantly, but his mind was still filled with the terrifying astral rift and the unknown giant he had just seen. You were just standing there holding this thing, and I thought something happened to you. Pietro looked at the time pad in Alex's hand with a strange expression. He hadn't forgotten that this little device had saved them from the previous world. Oh, it's nothing, I was just lost in thought. From Pietro's reaction, Alex could deduce that even though he had spent a long time in that place, he had only been in a daze for a few seconds here. The flow of time was different in both places. Additionally, Alex wasn't planning to tell anyone about what had just happened to him. It wasn't that he wanted to keep it a secret, but because he himself couldn't fully process it yet. Telling others would only add to their worries. Moreover, the most critical issue now was not the unknown terrifying rift, but to quickly solve the problem of this universe created by Barry Allen. To resolve this disaster, General Zod was an unavoidable obstacle. To deal with him, they couldn't let him fight on the advantageous battlefield of Earth. Alex had carefully selected a very suitable final resting place for him. However, Alex wasn't sure if the red sun detected by Miss Minutes was the red sun from the DC universe. After all, the rules of two different universes might not be the same. So, to see if this red sun would be effective, they needed a Kryptonian volunteer to test it out. Fortunately, there was a Kryptonian presence at Wayne Manor at that moment. Thinking of this, Alex immediately decided to go back to the rooftop to find Kara. "Alex, we're almost ready." Seeing Alex preparing to leave, Barry Allen immediately spoke up. Barry Allen hoped Alex could stay by his side when he tried to regain his superpowers. Even he wasn't sure if his plan would succeed. If it failed, he would undoubtedly be struck dead by lightning. Since Alex and Pietro were so knowledgeable about the multiverse, having them around would at least ensure his safety if anything went wrong. Hearing Barry Allen's words, Alex paused and, after a brief thought, turned back and said, "You go ahead and start. I have something to discuss with the Kryptonian girl. Just remember, your plan is good, but part of your speed force has transferred to the young Barry. To regain your superpowers, besides these external factors, you need to make contact with young Barry at the moment the lightning strikes." "What do you mean?" Both Barry Allens were confused. "It means the Barry Allen of this world needs to activate his speed when the lightning strikes, transferring the speed force back to you to reactivate your lost speed force." Before Alex could answer, old Batman Bruce Wayne explained, while shaking his head slightly and muttering, "You still don't understand these powers. I can't believe you missed such a crucial step." Seeing this, Alex nodded to the group and continued leaving the Batcave. Restoring the Flash's superpowers wasn't difficult, but it did look dangerous. After all, he was chosen by the Speed Force. But to be safe, Alex decided to leave Pietro behind. Firstly, Pietro, despite his unreliable appearance, was very dependable in critical situations. If anything went wrong, Pietro could handle it. Secondly, the mission was just a test and Alex and Kara could complete it by themselves. Taking another person would consume more energy, so Alex decided to save where he could and not bring Pietro along. Returning to Wayne Manor, Alex was heading to the rooftop when he saw Kara holding a large piece of bread in one hand and a glass of red wine in the other, eating heartily. Apparently, she was so engrossed in eating that she didn't notice someone approaching. When she realized Alex had arrived, they had already met eyes. Seeing Alex's slightly stunned expression, Kara was a bit embarrassed and then said, as if explaining to herself, "I was planning to come down to find you, but I got hungry when I passed by here. I haven't had proper food in a long time, so I just tried some." Alex didn't react much to this. After all, she wasn't eating his food. "It's fine, you can eat whatever you want. I was just wondering why you felt hungry despite being exposed to the sun, but I forgot you haven't had a proper meal in a long time. Sorry." "It's okay." Kara put down her food. She had already changed into her Kryptonian battle suit, the red and blue uniform. After changing, she seemed much more energetic. Although she didn't know why Alex suddenly came up, his actions showed he specifically came to find her. Seeing Alex wanting to speak but hesitating, Kara straightforwardly said, "You must have something to ask me, right? You saved me, and I owe you a life. So, whatever you need me to do, just say it. As long as I can help, I'll do my best." "Anything." Alex couldn't help but want to tease her. Maybe only at this moment did he feel like joking with someone. "Anything." However, Kara didn't catch the meaning behind Alex's words and responded earnestly. Hearing this, Alex sighed and gave up on the joke, turning serious. "I might have a way to kill Zid, which will not only save this planet but also avenge your brother." "What way?" Before Alex could finish, Kara interrupted, unable to contain her excitement. She originally wanted to find Alex to discuss ways to avenge her brother, and now that Alex had found a solution, how could she stay calm? "This is what I was about to say. If General Zid keeps getting strengthened by the yellow sun, he will be stronger than all of us. So, we can't fight him here. I have a way to take him to another planet, but I'm not sure if the red sun of that planet will affect him." Hearing this, Kara immediately understood Alex's intention. "I get it, you want me to test if the sun of that planet will affect Kryptonians, right? All right, I agree.